Hello friends. Did you know that nearly 80% of those who watch my videos aren't subscribed? If you enjoy the content, I'd truly appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It helps a lot. Also, don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Your interaction not only supports the channel's growth, but also helps these stories reach more people. Thank you all for being here. By the way, where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. The fluorescent lights in the Phoenix field office were buzzing at such a high frequency that it made my teeth ache. It was 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday in August, and I was entering the third hour of the longest shift of my career. My name is Agent Nolan Reed, and I've been working the night shift at the FBI's Arizona office for 6 years. Most people don't understand what the night shift does to you. It's not just irregular sleep or your body never quite adjusting to being awake while the rest of the world sleeps. It's the reality becoming increasingly blurred around 3 a.m., as if you're working in a parallel world where normal rules don't apply. 6 years of living in darkness is not a short time. I was 32 when I started, fresh out of a messy divorce, looking for any task to keep me occupied. The night shift paid a premium, and no one else wanted it, so I volunteered. The first few months were tough. My circadian rhythm fought me at every turn. I would lie awake during the day, curtains closed, trying to convince my body it was sleep time while listening to my neighbors go about their normal lives. Eventually, something shifted. My body gave up fighting and accepted this new reality. I became nocturnal in a way that felt almost biological. Sunlight started to seem harsh and invasive. The night became comfortable, familiar. The office after dark became more real to me than it ever was during business hours. The building itself was different at night. During the day, it was full of voices and footsteps, phones ringing, the constant hum of activity. But after 9 p.m., when the day shift cleared out and the cleaning crew finished their rounds, the place transformed into something else. The sounds became sharper, more distinct. You could hear the building settling, the expansion and contraction of materials as the desert cooled. The air conditioning system that was barely noticeable during the day became a presence, a breathing thing that filled the empty spaces. I'd grown accustomed to it. Even found it peaceful in a way. The solitude suited me. No small talk, no office politics, just me and whatever files landed on my desk. Tonight's assignment seemed routine enough. A series of border surveillance reports had flagged unusual activity near a stretch of highway outside Tucson, about 2 hours south of Phoenix. Nothing concrete, just inconsistencies in the logs. Vehicles appearing on camera feeds that weren't recorded at checkpoints. Timestamps that didn't match up. The kind of discrepancies that usually meant equipment malfunction or human error. The request had come through around 7 p.m., just as I was settling in for the shift. My supervisor, Assistant Director Garrison, had left me a note. Standard format, nothing unusual. Review the surveillance files, identify the source of the discrepancies, recommend whether it required technical service or further investigation. Expected completion. End of shift. Priority. Routine. I was tasked with reviewing the files and writing up a summary for the morning team. Standard administrative work. The kind of thing they gave to night shift agents when there wasn't active field work to be done. It was actually preferable to some of the alternatives. Better than monitoring wiretaps or processing evidence logs. This kind of work let my mind wander while my eyes did the watching. The office was nearly empty. Just me, the security guard making his rounds every hour, and Agent Harris 2 floors up running background checks. Harris and I had an understanding. We'd exchange nods when we passed in the hallway or the break room, maybe comment on the weather or the coffee. But we didn't pry into each other's work. Night shift agents learned to respect the solitude. The security guard was a retired cop named Dalton, not FBI, just contracted security. He was reliable, though, always made his rounds exactly on schedule. You could set your watch by him. Every hour, I'd hear his keys jingling in the hallway, the heavy fall of his footsteps, the squeak of his leather belt. He'd peek into my office, give me a two-finger salute, and continue on. It was comforting in its predictability. The building made sounds at night that you didn't notice during the day. The HVAC system groaned and whispered, pushing air through miles of ductwork. Pipes knocked behind walls as water moved through the plumbing. The elevator occasionally dinged on empty floors, called by ghosts or electrical glitches. Sometimes I'd hear what sounded like footsteps on the floor above me, even though I knew Harris was 2 floors up and Dalton was making his rounds on ground level. I'd learned not to investigate every sound. The building was old, built in the 80s when they were expanding federal presence in Phoenix. It had its quirks: doors that wouldn't stay closed, windows that rattled in their frames when the wind picked up, ceiling tiles that would sometimes drop without warning, victims of age and desert heat. My office was on the 4th floor, corner unit with windows facing east and south. During the day, the view wasn't much, just other office buildings and parking lots. But at night, I could see the city spread out below, a grid of lights that extended to the dark mountains in the distance. I'd watched thunderstorms roll across that view, lightning illuminating the desert in brief, stark flashes. I'd watched dust storms turn the sky orange and swallow the city whole. Tonight was clear. No storms. Just the steady glow of Phoenix after dark. The kind of night where the heat of the day lingered, but the temperature was finally starting to drop into the tolerable range. I opened the first file at 10:15 p.m. Case number AZ Border Surveillance 22847. The report was dated 3 weeks prior, filed by Agent Briggs from the Tucson office. I paused there. The name felt familiar, but I couldn't place it. Briggs. I ran through my mental roster of Tucson agents. We didn't interact much between offices, but I knew most of the names. Briggs didn't ring any bells, but that didn't mean anything. Turnover was high, especially in the southern offices. The border work burned people out. According to his notes, a camera stationed at mile marker 47 on Route 86 had captured a white van traveling westbound at 2:34 a.m. on July 28th. The vehicle had no plates visible, which wasn't unusual for that stretch of road. Plenty of vehicles crossed the border area with missing or obscured plates. Drug runners, human traffickers, or just people who'd rather not be identified. The cameras were there to catch them. What was unusual was that the van appeared on 3 different cameras over the course of 40 minutes, but never appeared at the border checkpoint it should have passed. Route 86 runs east-west across southern Arizona, connecting small towns and cutting through vast stretches of empty desert. We had cameras at strategic points, mostly watching for illegal border activity. The cameras fed into a central monitoring system that was supposed to flag unusual patterns. But the system was old, prone to glitches, and the footage quality was poor at best. I'd reviewed hundreds of these reports over the years. Usually, they were nothing. A camera's timestamp would be wrong, off by hours or even days due to power outages or system updates. Or vehicles would take alternate routes, dirt roads that didn't show up on our coverage maps. Or the checkpoint logs would be incomplete because an agent missed an entry during a busy shift. But something about this one made me pay attention. Maybe it was the detail in Briggs's notes. He'd clearly spent time on this, cross-referencing multiple data sources, checking and rechecking the timeline. This wasn't a cursory review. This was thorough work. I pulled up the camera feeds. The image quality was poor, typical of the equipment we used in remote areas. Budget constraints meant we were working with cameras that were sometimes a decade old. running on solar panels and cellular connections that dropped out regularly. The footage was compressed heavily to save bandwidth, which created artifacts and made details hard to discern. The first video loaded slowly, my computer struggling with the file size despite the compression. The progress bar crept forward in fits and starts. While I waited, I pulled up the technical specifications for the camera model. Standard IR-capable unit, 480p resolution, H.264 compression, maximum 30 frames per second, but usually running at 15 to conserve power. Not great, but better than nothing. When the video finally played, I saw exactly what Briggs had described. A white van, commercial style, probably a Ford E-Series or Chevy Express based on the body proportions. It was moving at a steady speed, maybe 55 or 60 miles per hour, which was normal for that road. The headlights cut through the desert darkness, illuminating the center line and not much else. I watched it pass through the frame. The whole clip was only 12 seconds long. The van entered from the right side of the screen, traveled through the middle, and exited on the left. Standard surveillance footage. The kind of thing I'd seen thousands of times. Nothing remarkable. Nothing that should have warranted a P1 priority rating. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about it. I replayed the clip, watching more carefully this time. The movement was smooth. The speed was consistent. The headlights were bright and properly aimed, creating that familiar pattern on the pavement. Yet there was something about the quality of the image that seemed wrong. The van looked sharper than it should have given the camera resolution, like it was in slightly better focus than the road around it. Or maybe lit by a source that wasn't visible in the frame. The desert on either side of the highway was just vague dark shapes, but the van itself had definition. I could make out the body lines, the wheel wells, even what might have been a dent in the rear quarter panel. I made a note in my log. Possible image enhancement? Check original file metadata for post-processing. Then I opened the next file. Same van, same night, different camera. This one was positioned 15 miles west of the first sighting, near the junction where Route 86 met a smaller county road. Timestamp read 2:51 a.m. I did the math in my head while the video loaded. 17 minutes to cover 15 miles. On that road, with no traffic and good conditions, that worked out to about 53 miles per hour. Perfectly reasonable. The timeline made sense. No red flags there. The video started playing. Again, the white van, moving with that same steady purpose. I watched it more carefully this time, looking for the same qualities that had bothered me in the first clip. They were there. That same too-sharp focus. That same sense of being separately lit from its environment. And something else I hadn't noticed before, a quality to the motion that seemed almost too smooth. No vibration from the road, no slight wobble in the trajectory. Just perfectly linear movement across the frame. I paused it mid-frame and zoomed in. The pixels broke apart into blocky squares, but I could still see enough to confirm what I was thinking. The van looked identical to the first sighting. Same model, same body style, same color in the IR-tinted footage. Even that dent in the rear quarter panel was in the same place, except when I looked closer at the dent, it wasn't quite the same. The shape was similar, but the angle was different. Like someone had tried to recreate it but got the details slightly wrong. I went back to the first video and zoomed in on the same spot. The dent was there, but shallower, rounder. Definitely different from the second video. Strange, but not impossible. The compression could be distorting the image, or the lighting angle could be creating shadows that looked like dents. I'd seen image artifacts create all sorts of phantom details. I made another note. Vehicle similarities require closer examination. Request higher resolution footage if available. The third sighting was where things shifted from peculiar to genuinely strange, where Briggs's report changed from routine observation to something that had clearly disturbed him. I could see it in the language he used. His earlier notes were clinical, precise, the kind of dry, technical writing we were all trained to produce. But in describing this third sighting, there was a subtle change. He used phrases like unexplained delay and anomalous timestamp variance, and warrants further investigation. Small changes, but in federal report writing, even small changes meant something. The van appeared again at 3:09 a.m., this time on a camera only 8 miles past the second checkpoint. 8 miles should have taken maybe 8 or 9 minutes at highway speed. But the timestamp showed 18 minutes had elapsed, almost exactly double what it should have been. Briggs had noted several possible explanations, working through them systematically. Theory 1. The van stopped somewhere between cameras, but there was nowhere to pull off on that particular stretch of road without being visible to at least one of the overlapping camera fields. He'd checked. I verified his work by pulling up the camera coverage map. He was right. The coverage was nearly complete in that section. Theory 2. The camera timestamp was wrong, but the cameras were all synchronized to GPS time signals and checked automatically every 6 hours. The system log showed no errors or warnings for that camera on that date. Theory 3. The van significantly reduced speed. But why? And if it had slowed to 30 miles per hour or less, that would be unusual enough to note. Vehicles traveling that slowly on an empty highway at 3 a.m. were usually having mechanical problems or were up to something illegal. Either way, it should have triggered additional scrutiny. None of the explanations were satisfying. Briggs had noted as much in his conclusion. Timeline discrepancy remains unexplained. Recommend technical review of camera unit 47C. I opened the third video file and immediately noticed the quality was worse than the first two. The image was grainier, the compression artifacts more visible. The timestamp in the corner flickered slightly, like the camera was struggling with the recording. And the van looked different. I paused the video and zoomed in as far as the software would allow. The pixels broke down into nearly useless blocks of gray, but I could still make out the basic shape. This was definitely not the same vehicle as the first two sightings. The body sat differently on the chassis. The roofline was higher, or maybe the whole vehicle was taller. The proportions were off in a way that was hard to quantify but impossible to miss once you saw it. Like looking at identical twins and noticing that one has a slightly longer face. I spent the next 20 minutes taking screenshots and comparing them. Created a spreadsheet with measurements, using reference points in the footage to calculate relative dimensions. The numbers confirmed what my eyes were telling me. These were 3 different vehicles. The differences were small enough that they could be explained by different models from the same manufacturer. Ford made the E150, E250, and E350 in similar body styles with slightly different dimensions. Chevy had equivalent variations, but Briggs had logged them as the same vehicle making the same journey. And there were other differences too, now that I was looking carefully. The front grille design varied between the 3 sightings. The placement of the side mirrors changed. Even the wheels seemed different, though the resolution made it hard to be certain. I checked Briggs's report one more time. He'd noted these discrepancies. His exact words. Vehicle appears identical in make and model, but shows minor differences in successive footage. Likely due to image compression artifacts or variable lighting conditions affecting apparent dimensions. It was a reasonable conclusion, the kind of thing I might have written myself if I'd been the one doing the initial review. Camera footage was notorious for distorting proportions, especially with moving objects captured from fixed angles. But something about it bothered me. Briggs had been thorough. He'd measured, calculated, cross-referenced. He knew these were probably different vehicles. So why hedge in his conclusion? Why suggest compression artifacts when his own data contradicted that explanation? Unless he'd reached the same point I was approaching now, the point where the rational explanation started to feel inadequate, and you began to suspect you were looking at something that didn't quite fit the normal patterns. I opened the next file in the sequence, trying to push past the discomfort. This one was from a different night, August 2nd, 5 days after the initial sightings. The camera was positioned near the town of Y, Arizona, one of those places that shouldn't exist but somehow does anyway. Y, Arizona. Population 116 at the last census, though I'd driven through there a few times and never seen evidence of more than 20 or 30 residents. The town sits at the Y-shaped junction of Route 85 and Route 86, about 45 miles north of the Mexican border. It's basically a gas station, a truck stop, and a handful of trailers scattered in the creosote scrub. The kind of place you pass through on your way to somewhere else, assuming you're going anywhere at all. We had a camera there covering the intersection. It was one of our better units, installed 2 years ago as part of a border security upgrade. Higher resolution, better low-light performance, more reliable connection. The footage it produced was clearer than most of our surveillance network. The report was filed by Agent Briggs, August 3rd, reviewing footage from the night before. Another white van, appearing on multiple cameras with no corresponding checkpoint records. The timeline showed the same pattern of unexplained delays and impossible travel speeds. I pulled up the footage. The timestamp read 3:17 a.m. The intersection was empty except for the van, which appeared from the east and turned north onto Route 85. The movement was smooth, controlled. The driver knew where they were going. The video quality was noticeably better. I could make out details that were invisible in the earlier footage. The van was definitely a Ford E-Series based on the distinctive front-end design. White paint, clean enough to suggest it was relatively well maintained. The windows were tinted, darker than Arizona law technically allowed, but that wasn't unusual for this area. People valued privacy. I watched the van make the turn and disappear north. The whole clip lasted maybe 15 seconds. Normal traffic movement, nothing suspicious. Except, I rewound and watched it again. Something about the motion had caught my attention, a detail my subconscious had flagged before my conscious mind could process it. There it was. At the moment of the turn, just a brief flash, but definitely there. A reflection in the van's rear window. Light from inside the vehicle, illuminating something. A face maybe, or a hand. Gone, too quickly to be sure, but enough to know the van wasn't empty. I made a note. Possible occupants visible in Y intersection footage, timestamp 3:17:23. Then I noticed something else. In the corner of the frame, barely visible, was another vehicle, parked on the shoulder about 100 yards past the intersection. I zoomed in, but the resolution at that distance was too poor to make out details. Just a dark shape that could have been a car or truck or van. I scrubbed through the footage before and after the white van's appearance. The parked vehicle was there the whole time, motionless. It didn't move when the van passed. Didn't turn on lights or show any sign of activity. Probably nothing. Someone with car trouble, or a trucker taking a rest break, or a border patrol unit watching the intersection. All normal explanations. But I flagged it anyway. Added it to my growing list of small anomalies that individually meant nothing but collectively suggested a pattern I couldn't quite see yet. Over the next 3 hours, I went through every file in the case folder methodically, taking detailed notes on each one. The office grew quieter as the night deepened. Even the building's ambient sounds seemed to fade, as if the structure itself was holding its breath. There were 14 reports in total, spanning 6 weeks from July 28th through August 19th. All of them described white vans appearing on surveillance cameras scattered across southern Arizona, all filed by Agent Marcus Briggs from the Tucson office, all flagged as equipment inconsistencies or logging errors. But as I worked through them chronologically, a pattern emerged. Report 1, July 28th. 3 camera sightings between 2:34 a.m. and 3:09 a.m. Route 86 corridor. Timeline anomalies and vehicle inconsistencies noted. Report 2, August 2nd. 2 sightings, 3:17 a.m. and 3:41 a.m. Y intersection and north on Route 85. No checkpoint record despite direct path. Report 3, August 4th. 4 sightings across 3 hours. This was the first one that really caught my attention because the timestamps overlapped. A white van appeared on a camera near Ajo at 2:47 a.m. At the exact same moment, 2:47 a.m., another white van appeared on a camera near Lukeville, 63 miles away. I rechecked the timestamps multiple times. They were identical down to the second. Both cameras were properly synchronized. Both showed white vans, similar but not identical based on the visible details. Briggs had noted this in his report. His language was more cautious here. Timestamp synchronization error likely. Recommend system-wide time calibration check. But the system logs showed no errors. The cameras were synchronized automatically via GPS. They'd both checked in properly at 2:00 a.m. and shown no drift. I sat back and stared at the dual screenshots I'd pulled up. 2 vans, 63 miles apart, same moment in time. Impossible if they were the same vehicle. Possible if they were different vehicles, but that opened up questions about why they were moving in such similar patterns. Report 4. August 7th, single sighting, but unusual. The van appeared on a camera and then appeared on the same camera 45 minutes later, traveling in the opposite direction. The timeline suggested it would have had to travel approximately 90 miles in that time, turn around, and come back. Nothing wrong with that per se, except there was nowhere to turn around in that 90-mile stretch. The road was straight, and the few access points were covered by other cameras. None of them showed the van. Report 5, August 9th. This one chilled me for reasons I couldn't fully articulate. 3 cameras, 3 sightings, all at 2:47 a.m. Different locations, same timestamp, same minute, same second, and Briggs's notes had changed again. Less hedging now. More direct. Equipment failure cannot account for observed pattern. Recommend field investigation. The rest of the reports continued the pattern. White vans appearing in impossible sequences, at impossible times, with timeline gaps that made no sense. And every report showed signs of Briggs becoming more concerned, more insistent that this required follow-up. Report 14, the most recent, dated August 22nd, was different from the others. The language was terse, almost urgent. Subject vehicle observed at ML47 at 0247 hours. Pattern continues. Request immediate supervisory review and authorization for field deployment. ML47. Mile marker 47. Where the whole thing had started. I checked the calendar. August 22nd was yesterday. If Briggs had filed this report yesterday, he might still be working the case today. I could call him directly, get his take on what was happening, but first I needed to understand what I was looking at. I pulled up a map of southern Arizona and began plotting every camera location where a van had been spotted. I used different colored pins for different dates, trying to visualize the pattern. What emerged was strange. The sightings weren't random, but they also didn't follow any logical route. A van would appear near the border, then 60 miles north, then back south but 50 miles east. No pattern that suggested actual travel or purposeful movement from point A to point B. Except, I zoomed out, looking at the overall distribution rather than the individual points. When I connected them chronologically, they didn't form a route. But when I connected all the points without regard to timeline, something else appeared. A shape, rough, irregular, but definitely intentional. The camera locations, when connected, created an approximate circle. About 80 miles in diameter, centered on a point in the desert between Y and Ajo. I zoomed in on the center point. According to the satellite imagery, there was nothing there. Just empty Sonoran desert. Creosote bushes, saguaro cacti, scattered rock formations. Not even a dirt road visible in the high-resolution photos. But we had to have some camera coverage of that area. It was too close to the border not to. I pulled up the camera network map and searched. There was one camera. Unit 47 Delta, installed 3 years ago on a low hill overlooking a dry wash. The location gave it a wide field of view across several square miles of desert. Perfect for catching border crossers on foot. I pulled up the camera's status. Active, recording continuously. Last maintenance check. July 15th, all systems normal. I accessed the live feed. The camera took a moment to connect, then displayed a view of desert landscape barely visible in the IR illumination. Nothing moving, just rocks and vegetation. I checked if there was any archived footage from the dates when the vans were spotted. The camera stored rolling 30-day coverage before old files were deleted to save space. I pulled up August 4th, the night when 2 vans appeared simultaneously in different locations. Started at midnight and scrubbed through at 4x speed. Nothing. Empty desert. A coyote crossed through the frame at 1:17 a.m. Some birds took flight around 4:30 a.m., startled by something off camera. I tried August 9th, same thing. Hours of nothing. Then I tried yesterday, August 22nd. The night Briggs filed his final report. Started at 2 o'clock a.m. and watched at normal speed. At 2:47 a.m., something appeared in the frame. Not the van. Something else. A light. Small, dim, barely visible even in the IR. It appeared in the middle distance near what looked like a rock formation. It pulsed once, twice, 3 times, then went dark. I rewound and watched it again. The light was definitely there. Too bright to be a reflection, too distinct to be an artifact. Someone or something was out there with a light source. I checked our patrol logs. No FBI units in that area on that date. No border patrol activity reported. Nothing that should explain a light in the middle of nowhere at 2:47 in the morning. I was making a note to flag this for follow-up when I noticed something else about the footage. After the light disappeared, there was a period of maybe 30 seconds where the camera's IR illumination seemed to dim. Not fail completely, just fade slightly, as if something was draining power from the system. Then it returned to normal. The timestamp continued without interruption. But something had happened in those 30 seconds. I enhanced the footage during that dim period, pushing the software to its limits. The image was grainy, barely usable, but I could make out shapes. Something moving through the frame. Large, low to the ground. I convinced myself it was probably a javelina or a deer. Desert wildlife moving through camera range. Nothing unusual, but the shape was too regular, too purposeful in its movement. And when I froze on the clearest frame I could find, zooming in until pixels became abstract squares, I could just make out what looked like wheels. A vehicle had driven through that frame during the 30-second dimming period. In the middle of the desert, miles from any road, at 2:47 a.m. I sat back from my computer and became aware of how quiet the office had become. The HVAC had shut off at some point. I couldn't hear Dalton making his rounds. Couldn't hear any sound at all except my own breathing and the faint whine of my computer's fan. By 1:30 a.m., I'd developed a headache that pulsed behind my left eye. The office felt colder than it had earlier. I got up to get coffee from the break room, and the motion sensor lights took a beat too long to turn on, leaving me in darkness just long enough to feel uncomfortable. When I sat back down at my desk, I noticed something I'd missed before. Each report had a priority code assigned to it. Most field reports got a standard P3 or P4 rating, meaning they'd be reviewed within a week or two. These reports all had P1 ratings. Immediate attention required. But they'd been sitting in the system for weeks. No follow-up, no secondary review, just Briggs's initial reports and then nothing. I decided to call the Tucson office. Agent Briggs would probably be off duty at this hour, but I could leave a message or talk to whoever was on night watch down there. The phone rang 6 times before someone picked up. Tucson field office, Agent Wyatt speaking. "Hey, this is Agent Reed up in Phoenix. I'm doing a review on some border surveillance reports filed by one of your guys, Agent Briggs. He around?" There was a pause, long enough that I thought the line had dropped. "Hello?" "Yeah, I'm here," Wyatt said. His voice had changed. "Careful now. Can I ask what this is regarding?" "Just some follow-up questions on case AZ Border Surveillance 2847. Nothing urgent. I can call back during business hours if..." "There's no Agent Briggs at this office," Wyatt interrupted. I looked at the report on my screen. Filed by Field Agent Marcus Briggs, Tucson Division. "The reports are in the system," I said. 14 of them, all signed by Briggs. Another pause. "What's your employee ID, Agent Reed?" I gave it to him. I heard typing on the other end. "Okay," Wyatt said finally. "I'm showing you're assigned to administrative review tonight, that's correct?" "Yes." "And you're looking at border surveillance files from July and August?" "That's right." "I'm going to need you to do something for me," Wyatt said. His tone was professional, but there was an edge to it I didn't like. "I need you to close those files and document that you've completed your review. Mark them as equipment malfunction, archive them, and move on to your next assignment." "I don't understand. If there's no Agent Briggs, who filed these reports?" "I can't discuss that over an unsecured line. Just close the files, Agent Reed. This isn't your case." "Then whose case is it?" Wyatt was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was lower. "Do you know what you're looking at in those videos? The actual content. White vans, unidentified vehicles near the border. Did you count them?" I hadn't. I'd been focused on the discrepancies, the timestamps, the missing checkpoint records. "How many vans are there across all 14 reports?" Wyatt asked. I pulled up the files and started counting. Each report documented between 1 and 3 sightings, some on the same night, some on different nights. "I'm seeing about 28 total sightings," I said. "Now, count the unique vehicles, not the sightings, the actual different vans." I went back through the screenshots I'd taken, started comparing them. The grills, the mirrors, the body shapes, the wheel configurations. 5 minutes later, I had my answer. "1," I said quietly. "It's the same van in every video." "Now you understand why you need to close those files," Wyatt said. "No, I really don't. If it's the same vehicle appearing repeatedly..." "It's not appearing repeatedly," Wyatt cut me off. "It's appearing simultaneously. Different cameras, same timestamps. Check the 3rd and 7th reports." I pulled them up. August 4th, camera near Ajo. Timestamp 2:47 a.m. Camera near Lukeville. Timestamp 2:47 a.m. The cameras were 63 miles apart. The same white van was on both cameras at the exact same moment. That's impossible, I said. Yes, Wyatt agreed. It is, which is why we don't investigate it. Close the files, Agent Reed. He hung up before I could respond. I sat there staring at my screen, the phone still pressed to my ear. The dial tone buzzed like an insect. Outside my office window, Phoenix sprawled in all directions, a grid of lights against the dark desert. Somewhere out there, on empty highways and forgotten roads, a white van that shouldn't exist was driving through the Arizona night, and I was supposed to pretend I'd never seen it. I put the phone down and looked at the clock. 2:03 a.m. The worst hours were still ahead. I should have closed the files like Wyatt told me to. I should have archived them and moved on to the next assignment. That would have been the smart thing to do, the safe thing. Instead, I opened the raw footage directory and started downloading every video file associated with the case. By 2:45 a.m., I had 47 video files saved to my local drive, and a headache that had migrated from behind my left eye to encompass my entire skull. The office had gotten quieter, if that was possible. Even the HVAC seemed to be holding its breath. The temperature had dropped several degrees, enough that I'd put on the jacket I kept draped over my chair. I'd started a fresh pot of coffee an hour ago, but when I went to pour a cup, I found the pot cold, not lukewarm. Actually cold, like the heating element had been off for hours instead of minutes. I dumped it down the sink and started over, watching to make sure the machine actually heated this time. While the coffee brewed, I stood by the window and looked out at Phoenix. From the 4th floor, I could see a good portion of the downtown area. At this hour, the city was mostly dark except for streetlights and the occasional lit window in one of the office buildings. The traffic signals cycled through their patterns for nobody. A few cars moved on the distant freeways, their headlights like slow-moving stars. I thought about the white vans, driving through the desert night on cameras that couldn't quite capture them properly. Appearing in multiple places at impossible times. Being somewhere they shouldn't be. Doing something I couldn't quite figure out. The coffee maker beeped. I poured a cup and returned to my desk, determined to find the explanation buried in all this data. I began watching the videos in chronological order again, this time taking even more detailed notes. Vehicle position, speed, timestamps, camera locations, weather conditions visible in the footage, visible features on the van, any other vehicles or activity in frame, anything that might explain what I was seeing. The first anomaly I'd noticed earlier became even more pronounced with systematic review. The van always appeared between 2:00 a.m. and 4:00 a.m. Not just usually. Always. Every single sighting fell within that 2-hour window. I pulled up statistics on border traffic patterns. That time frame was actually one of the slower periods for illegal crossings. Most smuggling activity happened either just after dark, when the heat was tolerable but before the night shift had fully settled in, or just before dawn when border agents were tired and the darkness was starting to fade. The 2:04 a.m. window was the dead zone. Too late for the early runners, too early for the dawn crew. It was when the desert was most empty, most itself, when the only movement was wildlife, and the occasional lost soul who'd made a wrong turn somewhere. So, why would someone choose that window to move a van, or multiple vans, through our surveillance network? It would actually draw more attention because there was less traffic to blend with. Unless that was the point. Unless whoever was driving these vans wanted to be seen on camera but didn't want to be caught at checkpoints. Which made no sense at all. The second anomaly I'd noted earlier also became clearer with closer examination. The route the vans took, if you could call it a route, formed no logical pattern for actual travel. I'd already mapped it, seen the rough circle the camera locations created. But now I went deeper, trying to understand the sequence. The vans didn't spiral inward or outward, didn't move clockwise or counterclockwise around the circle. The sequence seemed almost random, jumping from one side of the pattern to the other with no regard for efficiency or purpose. Except it wasn't random. When I numbered the sightings in chronological order and looked for mathematical patterns, I found something. The sequence followed a Fibonacci spiral, or something close to it. Each sighting was positioned at an angle related to the golden ratio relative to the previous sighting when measured from the center point of the circle. I'm not a mathematician. My knowledge of Fibonacci sequences came from a long-ago geometry class and a documentary I'd half-watched about patterns in nature. But the numbers were there, matching within a few degrees of what the ratio predicted. Someone had planned this. The van sightings weren't random equipment glitches or coincidental similar vehicles. They were deliberate, following a mathematical pattern that required knowledge of both the camera locations and complex geometric principles. I was processing this, trying to figure out what it meant, when I noticed something else about my coffee. I'd poured it maybe 10 minutes ago, added cream, watched the steam rise while I reviewed my notes. Now it was cold again. The ceramic mug was ice cold against my palm, cold enough that condensation had formed on the outside. I looked at the clock on my computer. 2:47 a.m. Then I looked at my watch. It showed 2:33 a.m. I looked back at the computer. Still 2:47 a.m. I waited, counting seconds in my head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, up to 60. The computer clock didn't change. My watch advanced to 2:34 a.m. I refreshed the time display on my computer. It reset to 2:47 a.m. Something was wrong with the system. Had to be. A glitch in the network time synchronization, making the clock stick on a particular time. Except 2:47 was the same time that appeared in so many of the van sightings. The same timestamp that kept repeating across different dates and locations. I opened the system settings and checked the time source. Everything looked normal. The computer was synchronized to the federal time server, showed a stable connection, reported no errors. But the clock on my screen still showed 2:47 a.m. frozen, refusing to advance. I got up from my desk, suddenly needing to move, to do something physical to break the static feeling that had settled over the office. I walked to the hallway, thinking I'd find Dalton on his rounds, ask him if he'd noticed anything strange with the building systems. The hallway was empty. The fluorescent lights created pools of harsh white separated by stretches of shadow. Every third panel was dark to save electricity, a policy that made sense in daytime but created an uncomfortable strobe effect at night. I walked toward the elevator lobby, my footsteps echoing on the tile floor. The sound seemed wrong, delayed slightly, like the echoes were coming back before they should. Dalton wasn't in the lobby. I checked my watch. 2:35 a.m. He should have made his round 5 minutes ago, should be somewhere on this floor or moving to the next. I went to the stairwell and listened. No footsteps, no jingle of keys, nothing. The building felt completely empty except for me. I climbed the stairs to the 6th floor, where Harris was supposed to be working background checks. The door to his office was closed. I knocked. No answer. I tried the handle. Locked. "Harris, you there?" Nothing. I took out my phone to call him, then remembered the night shift protocol. We were supposed to stay off personal phones during work hours, use office lines for all communication. Security policy. I went back to my office and picked up the desk phone to dial Harris's extension. The line was dead. No dial tone, no static, just silence. I tried hanging up and picking up again. Still dead. The office phone system was separate from the computer network. If the phones were down, it meant a different kind of problem. Maybe a power issue, though the lights were still on. Maybe a server problem, though that seemed unlikely. I decided to call the Tucson office from my cell phone. Briggs would probably be off duty at this hour, but I could leave a message or talk to whoever was on night watch down there. Get some context for these reports, maybe find out if Briggs had shared any theories about what was going on. The phone rang 6 times before someone picked up. Tucson Field Office, Agent Wyatt speaking. His voice sounded distant, filtered through some kind of interference. Not the usual, clean digital connection. Hey, this is Agent Reed up in Phoenix. I'm doing a review on some border surveillance reports filed by one of your guys, Agent Briggs. He around? There was a pause. Not just a brief hesitation, but a long enough silence that I thought the line had dropped. I could hear something in the background. Not office sounds. More like wind, or rushing water, or static shaped like environmental noise. Hello? Yeah, I'm here, Wyatt said finally. His voice had changed. Careful now, measured, like he was choosing his words with unusual precision. Can I ask what this is regarding? Just some follow-up questions on case AZ Border Surveillance 2847. Nothing urgent. I can call back during business hours if there's no Agent Briggs at this office, Wyatt interrupted. His tone flat, final. I looked at the report on my screen. Filed by Field Agent Marcus Briggs, Tucson Division. Employee ID TUC 47218. The information was right there, complete with a digital signature and timestamp. The reports are in the system, I said, trying to keep my voice level. 14 of them, all signed by Briggs. Another pause. I could hear that background noise more clearly now. It definitely sounded like wind. Desert wind, dry and constant. What's your employee ID, Agent Reed? I gave it to him, heard typing on the other end. Okay, Wyatt said after a moment. I'm showing you're assigned to administrative review tonight in Phoenix. That's correct? Yes. And you're looking at border surveillance files from July and August. That's right. Filed by Agent Marcus Briggs from your office. I need you to do something for me, Agent Reed. Wyatt's voice was professional, but there was an edge to it I didn't like. Not hostility, exactly. More like controlled alarm. I need you to close those files and document that you've completed your review. Mark them as equipment malfunction, archive them according to standard procedure, and move on to your next assignment. I don't understand. If there's no Agent Briggs, who filed these reports? That's not your concern. This isn't your case. The reports you're looking at are part of a separate, ongoing investigation that doesn't require additional review at this time. What investigation? They've been sitting in the system for weeks with no follow-up. If they're important, they're not important. Wyatt cut me off. They're archived material that got flagged by mistake. The priority codes were assigned in error. You need to just close them out and move on. With all due respect, that doesn't make sense. These reports document pattern behavior across multiple camera systems. If someone's testing our surveillance network, Agent Reed, Wyatt's voice dropped lower. I can't discuss this over an unsecured line. What I can tell you is that continuing to review these files is not in your best interest. Close them, now. That's not a request. Are you ordering me to... Do you know what you're actually looking at in those videos? Wyatt asked, his voice taking on a different quality. Less official now, more personal. Have you counted them? The actual vehicles, not the sightings. The distinct vans. I hadn't. I'd been focused on the patterns, the timeline anomalies, the mathematical sequence, but I hadn't done a systematic count of unique vehicles. How many vans are there across all 14 reports? Wyatt asked. I pulled up my spreadsheet, started going through the screenshots I'd collected. Each report documented between 1 and 3 distinct sightings, some on the same night, some on different nights. I'd assumed multiple vehicles, different times, different operators. But now, actually comparing them directly, looking past the compression artifacts and varying angles, "Take your time," Wyatt said quietly. I went through them methodically, compared body styles, visible features, damage marks, anything that would distinguish one vehicle from another. Used the measurement technique I developed earlier to estimate dimensions. 5 minutes later, I had my answer. 1, I said quietly. It's the same van in every video. Now you understand why you need to close those files, Wyatt said. No, I really don't. If it's the same vehicle appearing repeatedly across 6 weeks, that's exactly the kind of pattern that warrants investigation. If someone's running the same van through our surveillance network, it's not appearing repeatedly. Wyatt cut me off. His voice had changed again, taking on a tone I'd never heard in a professional conversation. Not quite fear, but something close to it. Resignation, maybe. It's appearing simultaneously. Different cameras, same timestamps. Check the 3rd and 7th reports, August 4th. I pulled them up with a growing sense of dread. August 4th, Report 3 and Report 7 in my chronological sequence. Camera near Ajo, timestamp 2:47:18 a.m. White van traveling westbound. Camera near Lukeville, timestamp 2:47:18 a.m. White van traveling northbound. The cameras were 63 miles apart. Different roads, different directions, but the same moment in time down to the second. And when I compared the screenshots, accounting for angle and distance and lighting, they showed the same vehicle, the same dent in the rear quarter panel, the same scuff mark on the front bumper, the same pattern of road dirt on the lower body panels. One van, 2 places, same instant. That's impossible, I said, but my voice sounded distant even to myself. Yes, Wyatt agreed. It is, which is why we don't investigate it, which is why those files got flagged P1 Archive instead of P1 Investigate. They're meant to be seen and then forgotten. Not studied, not analyzed. Certainly not discussed over phone lines at 3 in the morning. How is that possible? I asked, even though I knew he couldn't answer that question in any satisfying way. It's not, he said simply. That's the point. None of this is possible, so the only rational response is to pretend it isn't happening. Close the files, Agent Reed. Delete any copies you've made. Go home when your shift ends and never think about this again. And if I don't, then you end up like Briggs, Wyatt said, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Or worse. What happened to Briggs? I asked, though part of me didn't want to know the answer. Wyatt was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy. 3 months ago, Marcus Briggs was a night shift agent just like you. Good agent. Thorough. Maybe too thorough. He got assigned to review the same files you're looking at now. He called me just like you did. I told him to close the files. He didn't listen. And he went to mile marker 47. Wanted to see for himself, understand what was happening. We found his vehicle the next morning. Engine still running, driver's door standing open. Keys in the ignition, his service weapon in its holster, coffee in the cup holder still warm. Where was he? Gone. No footprints in the sand, no sign of struggle, no evidence of what happened. Like he just stepped out of his car and vanished. That's not possible. No, it's not. Just like those vans aren't possible. But here we are. You're telling me the Bureau just covered it up? Classified him as missing and moved on? What would you have us do? Wyatt asked. Tell the truth? Agent vanished while investigating impossible vehicle that appears in multiple places simultaneously. Write that report and see how long you keep your badge. So you just, what? Pretend it never happened? We reclassified him as a missing person. Standard protocol. The case is still open. We're still looking, technically, but nobody expects to find him. Jesus. He kept filing reports after he disappeared, Wyatt said, his voice barely audible now. For 3 weeks, 14 reports total, all describing the same white van, all filed from his account, authenticated with his credentials, uploaded from his assigned terminal. How? I don't know. The IT guys couldn't explain it either. The reports just appeared in the system, one every 2 or 3 days like clockwork. All properly formatted, all professionally written, all describing that fucking van. I felt cold. My office suddenly felt too big, too empty, the darkness outside the windows pressing closer. The last report was filed 3 weeks after Briggs disappeared. Wyatt continued. August 22nd, yesterday. Case number AZ Border Surveillance 2847. The same files you're reviewing now. Then nothing. Like whatever was using his account decided it was done. Or like Briggs finally stopped, I said. Maybe. Either way, you can see why you need to close those files. This isn't something you can solve. It's not something any of us can solve. The best we can do is document it and move on. That's not how this is supposed to work. We don't just ignore evidence because it's inconvenient. This isn't about convenience, Reed. This is about survival. Briggs is gone. 2 other agents before him asked too many questions about those files and requested transfers within the week. One of them quit the Bureau entirely. The pattern is clear. You look too closely at this thing, and it looks back. What thing? What are we actually talking about here? I don't know, Wyatt said, and for the first time he sounded genuinely frightened. And I don't want to know. Neither should you. The line went dead. I sat there holding the phone, listening to the silence. No dial tone, no static. Just nothing. Like the connection had never existed. I looked at my computer screen. The surveillance footage was still paused on that image of the white van, caught mid-frame at 2:47 a.m., existing in 2 places at once. My watch showed 2:51 a.m. The clock on my computer still showed 2:47 a.m. Outside my office, I heard the elevator ding. I held the phone for a long moment before setting it down. My hand was shaking. Wrong number, had to be. Or someone from another department playing a prank. Night shift agents got bored, did stupid things to pass the time. But that voice hadn't sounded bored. It had sounded afraid. I tried to refocus on my work, but the spilled coffee had ruined my notes. I grabbed paper towels from my desk drawer and started cleaning up the mess. That's when I noticed the security monitor in the corner of my office. It cycled through different camera feeds throughout the building. Right now it was showing the parking garage, level B2. There was a white van parked in the corner. I stared at it. We didn't use white vans. Our motor pool had sedans and SUVs, black, dark blue, sometimes gray. Never white commercial vans. The camera feed switched to the lobby. Empty. Then to the second-floor hallway. Also empty. When it cycled back to the parking garage, the van was gone. I got up and walked to my office door. The hallway outside was lit by every third fluorescent panel, the rest dark to save power. The shadows between the lights seemed thicker than they should be. I took the stairs down to the parking garage. The elevator was closer, but something made me avoid it. The stairwell was concrete and echoing. My footsteps sounded wrong, like they were coming from above and below me simultaneously. I counted the floors as I descended. 2nd floor, 1st floor, ground level, basement 1. I stopped on the landing for basement 2 and listened. Silence. Complete and total. I pushed through the door into the garage. The space was mostly empty at this hour. A dozen vehicles scattered across 200 parking spots. The lighting was poor, lots of shadows. I walked to the corner where I'd seen the white van on the monitor. Nothing there. Just an empty space marked with fading yellow lines. I was turning to leave when I noticed the oil stain. Fresh oil, still wet, in the exact shape of where a vehicle had been parked. I crouched down and touched it. The oil was warm. A door slammed somewhere in the garage. The sound echoed, impossible to locate. "Security?" I called out. No answer. I stood up slowly, looked around. All the vehicles I could see were FBI units, sedans, SUVs, no vans. Another sound, closer this time. Footsteps on concrete. "This is Agent Reed. Identify yourself." The footsteps stopped. I reached for my service weapon, then remembered I'd left it in my desk drawer. Night shift administrative review didn't require being armed. Stupid policy. I was starting to regret every decision that had led me to this moment. "I'm a federal agent," I said, my voice echoing. "Come out where I can see you." Nothing. I backed toward the stairwell door, keeping my eyes on the shadows between the parked cars. Something was moving there. I couldn't see it directly, but I could sense the motion. Like when you notice a spider in your peripheral vision. I hit the door and went through, taking the stairs 2 at a time back up to my floor. When I got back to my office, I was breathing hard. I locked the door behind me, which wasn't standard procedure but felt necessary. The security monitor was showing the parking garage again. All the vehicles were where they should be. No white van, no movement. I sat down at my desk and forced myself to think rationally. Lack of sleep, too much coffee. The mind playing tricks in the dead hours of night. That's all this was. But the oil stain had been real, fresh and warm. I looked at the clock. 3:33 a.m. I had 4.5 hours until my shift ended. Until daylight. Until other people arrived and reality felt solid again. I turned back to my computer. The video files were still there, waiting. Against every instinct telling me to stop, I opened the next one. The sun would rise at 5:47 a.m. according to my phone. That was 2 hours and 14 minutes away. I'd stopped trusting the clock on my computer. The numbers moved, but they didn't feel right. Sometimes minutes passed too quickly. Sometimes they stretched like taffy. I'd watched 32 videos now. The van appeared in every one, always during those 2 hours, always moving with that same steady, purposeful speed that led nowhere. But I'd found something else. In the background of the footage, barely visible in the grainy night vision quality, were other things. Shapes that might have been coyotes or might have been something else. Lights in the desert that could have been campfires or could have been vehicles. And in 3 separate videos, something that looked like a person standing beside the road, watching the van pass. I enhanced the image as much as the software would allow. The figure was tall, wearing what might have been a jacket or coat. They didn't move, didn't react to the van. Just stood there in the desert darkness at 3 o'clock a.m., facing the camera. In all 3 videos, it was the same stretch of road, near mile marker 47, where this whole thing started. I cross-referenced the dates. The figure appeared on August 1st, August 8th, and August 15th. Weekly intervals. Today was August 22nd. I checked if we had any scheduled surveillance for tonight. There was a camera running near mile marker 47. Feed was being recorded in real time, stored on the server. I pulled up the live feed. The highway was empty. Just pavement and desert and darkness. The timestamp in the corner read 3:51 a.m. I watched for 5 minutes. Nothing. just a static shot of an empty road. Then I noticed something wrong with the timestamp. It was moving backwards. 3:51 a.m. became 3:50 a.m., then 3:49 a.m. I checked my computer clock. 3:53 a.m. The live feed was running in reverse. I refreshed the feed. The timestamp corrected itself. 3:53 a.m. The highway was no longer empty. The white van was there, parked on the shoulder, about 50 yards from the camera. The headlights were on, pointing toward the lens. I leaned closer to my screen. There was someone standing beside the van. Tall figure, dark clothing. The same figure from the archived footage. As I watched, the figure raised one arm and pointed directly at the camera. My desk phone rang. I didn't want to answer it, but I picked it up anyway. "Reed? You're still watching." The same male voice from before, clearer now. "Who is this? You should have closed the files. How did you get this number?" "The same way I got every number, the same way I know you're alone on the 4th floor, the same way I know you downloaded the footage to your personal drive." I looked around my office. No cameras that I could see. But that didn't mean anything. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand something, Agent Reed. Those files were flagged P1 not because they needed attention. They were flagged P1 to quarantine them, to make sure only specific people could access them, people who knew not to look too closely." "You're saying this is classified?" "I'm saying this is irrelevant. The van isn't real. The footage isn't real. None of it matters because it doesn't exist in any way that you can act on. That's not how reality works. Isn't it? How many times have you checked the time in the last hour? How many times did it match what you expected?" I looked at my computer clock. 4:17 a.m. I looked at my phone. 3:58 a.m. I looked at my watch. 3:33 a.m. "Stop," I said. "I'm not doing anything. This is what happens when you look too closely at things that don't want to be seen. The pattern breaks down, time gets confused. You start to notice the edges where reality doesn't quite fit together properly. This is insane." "Yes, it is. And if you keep going, it gets worse. Do you want to know what happened to Agent Briggs?" "There is no Agent Briggs." "There was. 3 months ago, he was on night shift too. Reviewed the same files you're looking at now. He called me, just like you did. I told him to close the files. He didn't listen." "What happened to him?" The voice was quiet for a long moment. "He went to mile marker 47. Wanted to see for himself. They found his vehicle the next morning. Engine running, driver's door open. No sign of him, no footprints in the sand, nothing." "You're lying. Check the employment records. Marcus Briggs, hired February 2024. Terminated status changed to missing person July 14th. I pulled up the personnel database, typed in the name. The file existed. Photo ID showed a man in his 30s, brown hair, standard FBI field agent. Status, MP, missing person. Last known location, State Route 86, mile marker 47. "He's still missing," the voice said. "But his reports kept appearing in the system for 3 weeks after he disappeared. 14 reports, all filed from his account, all describing the same white van." I was having trouble breathing properly. The office felt smaller. "How is that possible?" "It's not. That's the point. None of this is possible, so the only rational response is to pretend it isn't happening. Close the files. Delete your copies. Go home when your shift ends and never think about this again. And if I don't, then you end up like Briggs or worse." "What's worse?" The voice dropped to almost a whisper. "Understanding what you're actually looking at." The line went dead. I sat there holding the phone, listening to the dial tone. Outside my window, Phoenix was still dark, but there was a faint lightening on the eastern horizon. Dawn was coming. I looked back at my screen. The live feed from mile marker 47 was still up. The van was gone. The highway was empty again. But something had changed. There was writing on the pavement. White letters spray-painted across both lanes. I zoomed in as far as the camera would allow. The message was simple. Stop looking. Nolan, my name. On a highway 60 miles from Phoenix. Written in the last few minutes. I checked the footage timeline. Scrubbed backward through the recording. The writing had always been there. Even in footage from an hour ago. 2 hours ago. Yesterday. It had always been there, and I'd just never noticed. I was shutting down my computer when I heard the elevator ding at the end of the hall. At 4 o'clock a.m., nobody should be arriving. The morning shift didn't start until 7 o'clock. I went to my office door and looked through the small window. The hallway was empty. The elevator doors were closed, but I could hear footsteps. Coming closer. I locked my door and stepped back. The footsteps stopped right outside. A shadow appeared in the gap under the door. Someone was standing there. Agent Reed. A woman's voice. Not the man from the phone. I need you to open the door. Identify yourself. My name is Agent Lisa Dalton. I'm with Internal Affairs. I need to speak with you about the files you've been accessing tonight. Show me your credentials. A badge slid under the door. Federal ID looked legitimate. Photo matched the name. I picked it up. The plastic was cold. Too cold. How did you know what I was accessing? Your activity is monitored. When you downloaded the border surveillance files, it triggered an alert. An alert to Internal Affairs? These files are part of an ongoing investigation. I need you to return all copies and provide a statement. I looked at the badge again. Something about it was wrong. The photo was right. The name was right. But the issue date was wrong. The badge had been issued 3 months ago, in Phoenix, on the same day Marcus Briggs disappeared. I need to make a phone call first, I said. That's not possible. Please open the door, Agent Reed. I have a right to legal representation before the door handle started turning. I'd locked it, but it was moving anyway. I backed away. Reached for my desk phone to call security. The phone was dead. No dial tone. The handle stopped moving. The shadow under the door was gone. I waited. Counted to 60. Checked the hallway through the window. Empty. I grabbed my jacket and my bag. Downloaded the video files to a flash drive and deleted them from my computer. Wiped the browser history and the temp files. Then I unlocked my door and moved fast toward the stairwell. The elevator dinged again as I passed it. The doors started to open. I didn't look. I hit the stairwell and went down, taking the stairs 3 at a time. When I got to the parking garage, I went straight to my car. Started it, drove up the ramp and out into the Phoenix night. The security guard at the gate waved me through without looking up. I drove north on I-17, putting distance between myself and the office. The sky was getting lighter. 10 minutes to sunrise. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. You can't outrun what you've already seen. I threw the phone out the window. At 5:47 a.m., the sun came up over the desert. The world became solid and real again. I pulled into a diner parking lot and sat there, engine running, trying to convince myself I'd imagined all of it. But I had the flash drive in my pocket. The videos were real, and somewhere out there on the empty highways of southern Arizona, a white van that shouldn't exist was still driving through the night. I didn't go home. Home felt like a place where I'd be expected, and being expected felt dangerous. Instead, I checked into a motel off I-10, one of those anonymous places with exterior doors and parking spots right outside each room. I paid cash, gave a fake name. The clerk didn't care. The room smelled like cigarette smoke masked by industrial cleaner. I locked the door, put the chain on, and sat on the bed with the flash drive in my hand. I should have destroyed it, thrown it into a dumpster, or melted it with a lighter. Instead, I plugged it into my personal laptop. The files were there. All 47 videos intact. I opened the first one and watched it again in the daylight. The white van moved through the frame just like before. Same speed, same trajectory. Nothing remarkable about it except that it shouldn't exist in the places and times it appeared. I watched 10 more videos, then 20. I was looking for something I'd missed, some detail that would make sense of all this. At video 34, I found it, the license plate. In all the earlier footage, the van had no visible plates. But in this video, from August 18th, there was a plate on the rear bumper. The resolution was too poor to read the numbers, but I could enhance it. I spent 20 minutes processing the image. The plate was Arizona issue, standard design, and the numbers finally resolved into clarity. AZ Briggs 2024. Not a real plate. Not possible to register a vanity plate with that exact combination. But there it was. I checked the timestamp. The video was recorded at 2:47 a.m. on August 18th, 4 days after Marcus Briggs was classified as missing. I closed the laptop and sat very still. The pieces were forming a picture I didn't want to see. Briggs had investigated the van. Briggs had gone to mile marker 47. Briggs had disappeared. And then the van started carrying his name. My phone was gone, thrown onto the I-17 somewhere around Happy Valley. But the motel room had a landline. I picked it up and called the Phoenix office. It rang 4 times before someone answered. FBI Phoenix, how may I direct your call? This is Agent Reed. I need to speak with my supervisor. Agent Reed? The receptionist sounded confused. Can you hold, please? Muzak played. I waited. 2 minutes later, a different voice came on. Male, authoritative. This is Assistant Director Garrison. Who am I speaking with? Agent Nolan Reed, sir. Badge number. I know who you are, Agent Reed. Where are you? I'd rather not say, sir. I need to report. You need to come in immediately. You left your post without authorization. You removed classified materials from a secure facility. Do you understand the severity of what you've done? The materials aren't classified, sir. They're surveillance footage from I don't care what you think they are. You will return to this office within the hour, or I will have you listed as AWOL and issue a warrant for your arrest. I'd never heard Garrison sound like this. He was usually calm, measured. This was different. There was an edge of desperation in his voice. What happened to Agent Briggs? I asked. Silence. Sir? There is no Agent Briggs assigned to this division. Marcus Briggs, Tucson field agent, went missing in July. I have no record of any agent by that name. You're clearly suffering from sleep deprivation and possibly a mental health crisis. Come in now and we can get you the help you need. I saw his personnel file last night. It was in the system. Then you saw something that wasn't there, which is exactly why you need to come in. I hung up. Whatever was happening, the official channels weren't going to help. Either they were part of it or they genuinely didn't know. Either option was terrifying. I sat on the motel bed and tried to think. The files on my laptop proved something had happened. They were evidence, real, tangible data that I could show to someone. But who would I show them to? Garrison had made it clear the official response would be to declare me mentally unfit. And maybe they were right. Maybe I was having some kind of breakdown. 6 years of night shifts could do that to a person. I opened the laptop again and started going through the videos one more time. This time I made notes. Detailed observations about each sighting. Camera locations, timestamps, vehicle characteristics. I was building a case file, documenting everything methodically. That's when I noticed something I'd missed before. In the background of video 12, there was a structure. Far off in the desert, barely visible in the darkness. It looked like a building, maybe a house or a storage facility. I pulled up a satellite map and cross-referenced the camera location. According to the GPS coordinates, there was nothing out there, just empty desert. But the structure was there in the video. I could see it clearly once I enhanced the image. I checked the other videos. The structure appeared in 4 more of them, always in the background, always barely visible, and always in footage from cameras positioned around the western edge of that circular pattern I'd identified. I zoomed in as much as the image quality would allow. The structure had a flat roof and what looked like a radio antenna or communications tower attached to one corner. A thought occurred to me. I pulled up the FBI's database of field offices and remote facilities in Arizona. There were dozens. Surveillance posts, equipment stations, communication hubs. Most of them were marked on official maps, but some weren't. I spent 2 hours cross-referencing locations. The structure in the videos was positioned roughly 30 miles southwest of Y, Arizona. When I looked up that area, I found something interesting. There was a land parcel registered to the federal government. No specific agency listed. No buildings marked on any public map. Just empty desert as far as any civilian database was concerned. But in the surveillance footage, there was definitely a building there. I copied the coordinates and saved them to the flash drive along with the videos. Then I made a decision that I knew was probably stupid. I was going to find that building. I checked out of the motel at noon and started driving south again. The coordinates put the structure about 3 hours away, most of it on unpaved roads. The highway gave way to county roads, then to dirt tracks that barely qualified as roads at all. The desert out here was different from the areas closer to Phoenix. Harder, more hostile. The kind of landscape that killed people who made mistakes. I reached the approximate location around 3 p.m. There was nothing visible from the road. Just scrub brush and rock formations and heat shimmer. I parked and got out. The silence was absolute. No birds, no insects. Just the ticking of my car's engine as it cooled. I checked the coordinates on my laptop. According to the GPS, the structure should be about half a mile due west. I started walking. The desert floor was uneven, covered in loose rock and hidden depressions. I had to watch every step. The sun was merciless. I could feel it burning through my shirt. After 20 minutes, I saw it. A low, concrete building, maybe 40 feet on a side. Flat roof. No windows on the sides facing me. A communications tower rose from one corner, exactly like in the videos. There was a dirt access road leading to the structure, but it looked like it hadn't been used in months. Maybe years. The desert was reclaiming it, sand drifting across the packed earth. I approached slowly. There was a door on the near side. Metal, industrial, no handle on the outside, no markings. I walked around the perimeter. 3 more doors, all identical, no windows. No identifying information of any kind. On the north side, I found tire tracks, fresh ones, maybe a day or 2 old. Someone had been here recently. I tried each door, all locked. I put my ear against the metal and listened. Nothing. Then I noticed the camera. Small, mounted in the corner where the wall met the roof. The lens was pointed at the door I was standing next to. I stepped back and looked up at it. The camera was on. A small red LED blinked next to the lens. I was being watched. I raised my hand and waved at the camera. Felt stupid doing it, but I wanted whoever was monitoring the feed to know I'd seen them. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then I heard something inside the building. A mechanical sound. Heavy and deliberate. One of the doors on the far side started to open. I should have run. Every instinct told me to get back to my car and leave. But I'd come this far. I needed to know what was inside. I walked around to the open door. It led into darkness. Cool air drifted out, a sharp contrast to the desert heat. "Hello?" I called. No answer. I stepped inside. The door closed behind me immediately. Not slammed, just a smooth, mechanical closure. I spun around and grabbed for where the handle should be. There was nothing. The inside of the door was smooth metal. I was trapped. Lights came on. Fluorescent panels in the ceiling flickering to life one by one. The space was larger than I'd expected. A central room with corridors leading off in multiple directions. The room was empty except for a desk in the center. On the desk was a computer terminal. The screen was on, showing a single line of text. "Sit down, Agent Reed." I looked around for cameras. Found 3 of them mounted in different corners. I walked to the desk and sat in the chair. The terminal flickered and new text appeared. "You shouldn't have come here." I looked at the keyboard. Started typing. "Who are you?" The response was immediate. "That's not the right question." "What's the right question?" "You already know what to ask." I thought about it, then I typed, "What happened to Marcus Briggs?" The screen went blank for several seconds. Then, "He asked the same question. Where is he?" "Everywhere, nowhere." "It depends on what time you're asking." "I don't understand." "Yes, you do. You've seen the pattern. You've watched the videos. You know what the van is. It's surveillance footage. Equipment glitches. Is it, or is it something breaking through? Something that exists in multiple places because it exists outside of places entirely." I stared at the screen. My hands were shaking. "You're saying it's not from here. Not from our reality." "I'm saying reality is more flexible than you think. Especially out here. Especially between 2 p.m. and 4 a.m. That's when the boundaries are thinnest." This is insane. Is it? You've experienced it. The time distortions, the impossible simultaneity, the way evidence appears and disappears. You can't unknow what you've seen. I pushed back from the desk. This had to be someone messing with me. Some elaborate prank or psychological operation. But the videos were real, the van was real, the missing agent was real. "What do you want from me?" I typed. "Nothing. This isn't about what we want, it's about what you choose to do with what you know." "And what do I know?" "That there are places in Arizona where the desert meets something else. Where the normal rules stop applying. We monitor these places. We document them. But we don't interfere. Why not? Because interference makes it worse. Briggs interfered. He went to mile marker 47 at 2:47 a.m. He tried to interact with what he saw there. Now, he's part of it." "Part of what?" The screen flickered. The text changed color, turning red. The pattern, the loop, the thing that drives the white van. "I want to leave now." "You can't, not yet. You need to understand the choice you're making." "What choice?" "Whether to forget or to remember. Whether to walk away or to keep looking." Briggs chose to keep looking. It consumed him. You can still choose differently. How do I forget something like this? We can help. We have protocols. You'll wake up in your apartment. You'll remember having a difficult night shift. Equipment failures. Nothing more. You'll continue your career, live your life. The memories will fade like a dream. And if I choose to remember... The screen went blank again. When the text returned, it was white again. Then you become what Briggs became. An observer. Someone who knows. You'll monitor the feeds, document the sightings, watch as the boundaries continue to thin, and eventually, when it's your turn, you'll go to mile marker 47, because you'll need to see for yourself. That's not a choice. That's a death sentence. It's not death, it's transformation. It's becoming part of something larger than yourself. Briggs understood that in the end. How do you know? Because he told us. In the reports he filed after he disappeared. In the messages he leaves in the footage. He's still communicating. Still trying to explain what he's become. I felt cold, despite the temperature in the room. Show me. The computer screen changed. Video footage began playing. It was one of the surveillance clips I'd watched earlier. The white van passing through frame at 2:47 a.m. But this time, I noticed something new. In the reflection on the van's side mirror, there was a face. Blurred and distant, but unmistakably human. The video zoomed in, enhanced. The face became clearer. It was Marcus Briggs, looking directly at the camera. His mouth was moving, forming words. The video slowed down. I could read his lips, stop looking. The screen went black. I sat there in the silence, my heart hammering. That was recorded 3 days ago. The text on the screen read, "He's still trying to warn people, still trying to prevent what happened to him from happening to others. But the warning is part of the pattern now, part of the loop. I want to leave," I said out loud. "Now." The door behind me opened. Daylight streamed in. I stood up and walked toward it, stopped at the threshold. "Which choice did I make?" I asked. The screen flickered. "You'll find out at 2:47. I walked out into the desert. The door closed behind me. The walk back to my car felt longer than the walk in had been. The sun was lower now, late afternoon. My shadow stretched across the sand. When I reached my car, I got in and just sat there for a while, trying to process what had just happened. My laptop was still on the passenger seat. I opened it and checked the flash drive. The files were still there. All 47 videos, plus one new file that hadn't been there before. The file name was readfinalwarning.mp4. I didn't open it. I was afraid of what I'd see. Instead, I started the car and began driving back to Phoenix. The drive took longer than it should have. The sun set, and I was still on dirt roads in the middle of nowhere. My GPS wasn't working. The phone I'd thrown away earlier would have been useful now. I kept driving, following what I hoped was the right direction. By the time I hit paved road, it was fully dark. I checked my watch. 2:47 a.m. That was impossible. I'd left the facility around 4 p.m. Even with the slow drive, I should have been back in civilization by 8 or 9 p.m. at the latest. But my watch said 2:47 a.m., and this time the second hand was moving. I drove faster. The highway was empty. No other cars, no lights except my headlights cutting through the darkness. Then I saw it in my rearview mirror, the white van. It was behind me, keeping pace. I couldn't see the driver. I pressed the accelerator. My speedometer climbed. 80, 90, 100. The van matched my speed perfectly, not gaining, not falling back, just there. I looked at the road ahead, tried to focus on driving, tried not to think about what was following me. When I looked in the rearview mirror again, the van was gone. But there was something in the back seat of my car. I could see it in the mirror, a shape, darker than the darkness around it. I jerked the wheel, nearly losing control. The car fishtailed. I corrected and pulled over to the side of the road. I sat there, engine running, afraid to look in the back seat directly. In the mirror, the shape was still there, motionless. I reached for the dome light, flipped it on. The back seat was empty. I sat there for a long time, shaking. Eventually, I started driving again. I made it to Phoenix as the sun was coming up. The city looked normal, people going to work, traffic building, reality reasserting itself. I went straight to my apartment. The door was unlocked, which was wrong because I always locked it. Inside, everything was exactly as I'd left it, except for one thing. There was a folder on my kitchen table, a physical folder, the kind we used for case files. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a transfer order. Effective immediately, I was being reassigned to day shift. Administrative duties only, no field work, no night rotation. The signature at the bottom was Assistant Director Garrison's. There was a note clipped to the order, handwritten, Agent Reed. Take the transfer. Don't ask questions. And whatever you do, don't look at the surveillance feeds anymore. Some patterns are better left unobserved. G. I put the folder down and went to my laptop. The flash drive was still plugged in. All the files were gone except one. The file called Read Final Warning at MP4. I hesitated, cursor hovering over it. Then I opened it. The video was short. Just 15 seconds. It showed a camera feed from mile marker 47. Timestamp 2:47 a.m. Tomorrow's date. The white van was there, parked on the shoulder. And standing next to it was a figure. Tall, dark clothing. The figure turned toward the camera. The image was grainy, but I could make out the face. It was me. The video ended. I closed the laptop, ejected the flash drive, held it in my hand. I should have destroyed it right then, should have taken Garrison's advice and walked away. But I didn't. I put the flash drive in my desk drawer, filed the transfer order in my cabinet, took a shower, and tried to sleep. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by my window and watched the street. At 2:47 a.m., a white van drove past my apartment building. Slowly, like it was looking for something. I don't work night shift anymore. They transferred me to day rotation, administrative work only. They said it was for my mental health, mandatory stress leave. Nobody talks about what happened that night. My supervisor never mentioned the missing files. The investigation I was supposedly interfering with doesn't exist in any database I can access. Agent Marcus Briggs' personnel file is gone. According to the system, no one by that name has ever worked for the FBI. But sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I pull up the live camera feeds from the southern border. And sometimes between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock a.m., I see it. A white van moving through the Arizona darkness, appearing on cameras that are hundreds of miles apart in the same moment. I don't report it anymore, I don't tell anyone, I just watch, and I wonder if somewhere out there, Marcus Briggs is watching too. And I wonder if someday the van will be carrying my name. The clock on my wall reads 2:47. It's always 2:47 now, no matter what time I check it. I think I'm starting to understand what I was actually looking at. I wish I didn't. Last week I received an email. No sender address, no subject line, just a single sentence. It's almost time, Agent Reed. I deleted it, but it reappeared in my inbox the next day and the day after that. Tomorrow night I'm going to drive to mile marker 47. I don't know why. I don't even know if I'm making the choice myself, or if the choice was made for me the moment I opened those first files. Maybe there's no difference. I've prepared this document as a record. If you're reading this, then either I didn't go, or I did go and didn't come back. If I didn't come back, and you work for the FBI and you get assigned to night shift in Arizona, and you see files about border surveillance anomalies in the system. Close them. Don't look. Don't ask questions. Some patterns don't want to be understood, they just want to be fed. And it's 2:47 somewhere right now. The dispatch board lit up at 11:34 p.m. on a Wednesday in September, and I made the mistake of answering. My name is Agent Cole Mason, and I've been working the night communications desk at the FBI's Flagstaff satellite office for 4 years. It's not glamorous work. Most agents see the comm desk as a stepping stone, something you do for a year before moving to fieldwork or investigations. But I liked it. Liked the routine, the predictability, the sense of being the calm center while everything else moved around me. The Flagstaff office is small, just 12 agents covering northern Arizona. We handle everything from federal land crimes to border interdiction support to the occasional domestic terrorism case when something filters up from the Phoenix division. At night, it's usually just me and one field agent on call, monitoring radio traffic and processing reports that come in after hours. Tonight, Agent Ethan Grant was on field duty, out checking on a reported campfire in the Coconino National Forest. Probably nothing, but federal land meant federal jurisdiction, and we had to respond. He'd radioed in 30 minutes ago saying he was heading back, would be at the office by midnight. The board had been quiet until now. Just the usual automated check-ins from various monitoring systems, the occasional weather alert, nothing that required human intervention. Then Line 7 lit up. External call, not from our network. The display showed an Arizona area code but no caller ID. Not unusual. Cell service in northern Arizona was spotty, especially in the rural areas. Calls often came through with incomplete information. I picked up the handset. FBI Flagstaff office, Agent Mason speaking. Static crackled on the line. Underneath it, I could hear what sounded like wind. Strong wind, the kind that howled through the high desert canyons north of town. Hello? This is the FBI. Can you hear me? More static. Then a voice, male, speaking quickly. The words were garbled by interference, but I caught fragments. Need help. Route 89, mile marker. I grabbed a pen and notepad. Sir, you're breaking up. Can you repeat that? What's your location? Van. White van. Something wrong? The connection cleared for just a moment, and I heard him more distinctly. He sounded young, maybe mid-20s, and scared. Really scared. The kind of fear that makes people's voices go high and tight. Sir, I need you to slow down and tell me exactly where you are and what's happening. Route 89, mile marker 457. There's a van here. White van. It's been sitting here for hours. Doors open, engine running, but there's nobody. The static surged again, drowning out his words. Sir, are you still there? Blood? I think there's blood. I was already pulling up our dispatch protocols on my computer, logging the call. Route 89 ran north from Flagstaff up toward Page and the Utah border. Mile marker 457 would put him somewhere near the Vermilion Cliffs, about 2 hours north. Remote area, not much out there except rock and sky. Okay, listen to me carefully, I said, keeping my voice calm and authoritative. I need you to tell me your name and confirm your exact location. Are you in a safe position right now? My name is... It's cutting out. Can you hear me? I can hear you. What's your name? Derek Palmer. I'm a student at NAU. I was driving back from Page and I saw this van on the side of the road. I thought maybe someone needed help, so I stopped. But there's nobody here, just the van with the doors open and the engine running. And I think something bad happened here. I was typing as he spoke, creating the incident report. Call received 2334. Caller identifies as Derek Palmer, NAU student, reporting abandoned vehicle, Route 89, MM 457. Possible emergency situation. Derek, I need you to stay calm. Do not approach the vehicle any further. Can you see any other people or vehicles in the area? No, nothing. It's just me and this van in the middle of nowhere. There's no other traffic. I haven't seen another car in 20 minutes. Okay, I'm going to dispatch an agent to your location. It's going to take some time to get there. In the meantime, I need you to return to your vehicle, lock the doors, and wait. Do not investigate further. Do you understand? Yeah, okay. But there's something really wrong here. The van is just sitting there with the headlights on and the engine running, and the driver's door is wide open like someone just stepped out. But there's nowhere to go. We're in the middle of the desert. I understand. Just get back to your vehicle and stay on the line with me. I heard movement on his end. Footsteps on gravel, then a car door opening and closing. An engine starting. Okay, I'm in my car. Doors locked. Good. Now, can you describe the van for me? Make, model, color, any visible plates or markings? It's a white Ford van. E350 maybe? Commercial style. No markings that I can see. The license plate is... Hold on, let me put on my high beams. There was a pause. I heard his engine idling, heard him breathing. Derek, can you see the plate? That's weird. There's no plate. Front or back. Just empty brackets where a plate should be. I made a note, unregistered vehicle or plates removed. Escalating suspicion. All right, and you mentioned blood. Where did you see that? On the driver's seat. Not a lot, but definitely blood. Dark stains, fresh, I think. And there's a phone on the dashboard, someone's phone just sitting there. This was getting worse. Abandoned vehicle, no plates, blood evidence, personal effects left behind. Could be a lot of things. Carjacking gone wrong, medical emergency, or something worse. Derek, I need you to stay exactly where you are. I'm dispatching an agent now. He'll have lights and sirens. When you see him approach, flash your headlights so he knows which vehicle is yours. Do not exit your vehicle until the agent identifies himself. Clear? Yeah, clear. How long until someone gets here? I checked the GPS. Grant was 40 minutes south, just starting his drive back from the forest fire check. If I diverted him now, he could be at mile marker 457 in about 90 minutes, maybe a bit less if he pushed it. Approximately 90 minutes. I know that's a long time, but I need you to stay calm and stay on the line with me. 90 minutes? I'm out here alone with this creepy van for 90 minutes. I know it's difficult, but you're safe in your locked vehicle. The agent will get there as quickly as possible. In the meantime, I need you to keep watching the area and report anything unusual you see. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. I keyed the radio to Grant's frequency. Agent Grant, this is Base. Do you copy? The radio crackled. Base, this is Grant. Go ahead. I need you to divert to Route 89, mile marker 457. We have a civilian reporting an abandoned vehicle with possible blood evidence. Caller is standing by on scene. Copy that. Mile marker 457, Route 89. ETA approximately 90 minutes. Any additional information on the vehicle? White Ford van, commercial style, no visible plates. Engine running, doors open, unattended. Possible blood on driver's seat. Caller reports no other persons or vehicles in the area. Understood. Proceeding with caution. Will advise when on scene. I switched back to the phone line. Derek, an agent is on his way. His name is Ethan Grant. He'll be in a black SUV with federal plates. When he arrives, he'll identify himself before approaching. Until then, just keep me updated on anything you observe. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry if this is nothing, but it just feels wrong, you know? Who leaves a van running in the middle of nowhere? You did the right thing by calling. Better to report it and have it be nothing than to not report something serious. Yeah, I guess. I could hear the nervousness in his voice, the adrenaline starting to fade and being replaced by the creeping unease of sitting alone in the dark with something that didn't make sense. "Tell me about your drive tonight," I said, trying to keep him talking, keep him calm. "What were you doing in Page?" "Just visiting a friend. He's doing a semester at the community college up there. I drove up this morning, hung out for the day, started back around 10. Pretty boring drive usually, but tonight you found something unusual. It happens. This stretch of road, we get a lot of strange calls. People break down, run out of gas. Sometimes they just pull over because they're too tired to keep driving safely. Could be a simple explanation. Maybe. But the blood, though. And why would someone leave their phone? We'll figure it out when the agent arrives. Just stay alert and stay safe." For the next few minutes, we talked about inconsequential things. His classes at Northern Arizona University, the weather, the best places to eat in Flagstaff. Standard procedure for keeping a caller calm and engaged during a long wait. Then Derek went quiet. "Derek, you still there?" "Yeah, I'm here. I thought I saw something." My attention sharpened. "What did you see?" "Movement, maybe. Near the van. Just for a second, like someone walking past the headlights, but when I looked directly at it, there was nothing." "Could it have been an animal? Deer or coyote?" "Maybe. Yeah, probably. Just shadows and headlights playing tricks. I'm a little freaked out, sorry." "That's completely normal. Your eyes adjust to darkness, and then sudden light sources can create illusions. Just keep watching and let me know if you see anything definite." "Okay." Another minute passed. I could hear him breathing, hear the idle of his car engine through the phone. "Agent Mason?" "Yes." "The van's headlights just went off." I sat up straighter. "The headlights turned off? Did the engine shut down too?" "No, the engine's still running. I can hear it. But the lights just went dark, all at once, like someone flipped a switch." "Could the battery have died?" "I don't think so. The engine's definitely still going. I can hear it running." This was wrong. Headlights didn't just turn off while the engine was running unless someone turned them off manually. Or unless there was an electrical fault, but that usually killed the engine too. "Derek, I need you to keep your eyes on that van and tell me immediately if you see any movement or any other changes." "I'm watching it. It's just sitting there in the dark now. I can barely see it except when my headlights hit it at the right angle." "That's fine. Keep your own lights on and your doors locked. Agent Grant is making good time. Should be there in about 70 minutes now." 70 minutes? Okay, I can do 70 minutes. But his voice had changed. The initial fear was back, stronger now. Because something that had seemed explainable, just an abandoned vehicle with a simple explanation, had just become actively strange. I pulled up the incident log and added the new information. Headlights deactivated at approximately 23:48. Engine still running. No visual confirmation of persons in area. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I pulled up our surveillance database and checked if we had any camera coverage of Route 89 near mile marker 457. We had one camera, installed 6 months ago as part of a border monitoring expansion. It was positioned on a ridge overlooking a 10-mile stretch of highway. Mile marker 457 would be right in its coverage area. I accessed the live feed. The image was grainy, typical of our remote cameras, but I could make out the dark ribbon of highway cutting through lighter desert terrain. I zoomed in as far as the system would allow and scanned for mile marker 457. There, a vehicle pulled over on the shoulder. Even with the poor resolution, I could see it was a white van, and about 50 yards behind it, another vehicle. That would be Derek's car. I watched for a moment. The van sat motionless. Derek's car was also still, headlights pointing forward, illuminating the back of the van in his high beams. Everything looked exactly as Derek had described it. Nothing moving, no people visible, just two vehicles on an empty highway in the middle of the night. I was about to close the feed when I noticed something odd about the timestamp. The live feed showed 23:51 p.m., but the time code on the camera display showed 23:34 p.m., a 17-minute discrepancy. That was unusual but not unheard of. These remote cameras sometimes had synchronization issues, especially after power outages or system updates. I made a note to flag it for technical review, then switched back to the phone line. "Derek, everything okay?" "Yeah, still here, still watching. Nothing's moving." "Good, you're doing great. Agent Grant is about 65 minutes out now." I glanced back at the camera feed, intending to close it, when something made me pause. The van was gone. I blinked, thinking I'd scrolled the camera view by accident. But no, I was still zoomed in on the same section of highway. Mile marker 457 was clearly visible in the frame. Derek's car was still there, headlights on, exactly where it had been a moment ago, but the white van had disappeared. "Derek," I said carefully, keeping my voice neutral, "can you still see the van?" "Yeah, it's right in front of me. Why?" I stared at the camera feed. Derek's car, sitting alone on the highway, no van in front of it, no van anywhere in the frame. "Can you describe exactly where it is relative to your position?" "It's about 50 yards ahead of me, pulled over on the right shoulder. Same place it's been the whole time. Are you seeing something different?" "Just checking our camera coverage of the area. Sometimes the angles can be tricky." I refreshed the camera feed. Same image. Derek's car, no van. I checked the timestamp again. Still showing 23:34 p.m., frozen there like the camera had stopped recording 17 minutes ago. But Derek's car was clearly visible in the frame, and I could hear his engine through the phone, so the camera was definitely receiving live feed. Just the timestamp was wrong. Had to be. Technical glitch. The camera was malfunctioning. "Derek, I need you to do something for me. Turn your headlights off and then back on just for a second." "Okay, why?" "I'm checking something on our camera system. It'll just take a second." "All right." Through the phone, I heard a click. On the camera feed, Derek's headlights went dark. Then another click, and they came back on. The camera was working. Receiving live feed, showing me exactly what was there. And the van wasn't there. "Derek," I said slowly, "I need you to look very carefully at the van. Tell me exactly what you see. Describe it in detail." "Okay, it's a white Ford van, like I said, commercial body style, sitting on the right shoulder about 50 yards ahead. Driver's door is open. I can see the interior light is on now, actually. I don't think it was before. The engine is still running. I can hear it. There's nobody visible inside or around it." I was looking at a camera feed that showed an empty highway. Either the camera was completely malfunctioning, showing me a cached image from before the van arrived, or Derek was seeing something that wasn't there. Or I was seeing a camera feed that wasn't showing me what was actually there. All three options were bad. "Derek, I need you to stay very calm. I'm going to ask you a strange question. Do you feel normal? Any dizziness, confusion, visual disturbances?" "What? No, I feel fine. Why?" "Just protocol. We need to rule out any medical issues. You said you drove from Page tonight. Did you take any medication, drink any alcohol?" "No, nothing. I'm completely sober and I feel fine." "Why are you asking me this?" "Because I needed to know if he was hallucinating. Because I needed to understand why he was seeing a van that my camera couldn't see. Just routine questions. Don't worry about it. Agent Grant will be there soon and we'll get everything sorted out." but I was already pulling up the technical specifications for the camera system, looking for any explanation. Malfunction logs, error reports, anything that would explain why the feed wasn't matching reality. The system showed green across the board. No errors, no malfunctions, camera operating normally. Agent Mason, the interior light in the van just went out. The one you said was on a moment ago? Yeah, it just went dark. The whole van is dark now. I can barely see it. On my camera feed, there was still nothing. Just Derek's car on an empty highway. Derek, I need you to do something else for me. Very carefully, I want you to drive forward slowly, about 25 yards. Then stop and tell me what you see. You want me to drive toward the van? Just 25 yards. Stay in your vehicle. Doors locked. I just need to verify the camera angle. I heard his transmission shift into drive. On the camera feed, his car began to move forward. Slowly, cautiously, exactly as I'd instructed. He traveled about 25 yards and stopped. Okay, I'm stopped. The van is closer now, maybe 25 yards away. On my feed, his car sat alone on the highway. No van anywhere near him. Derek, I need you to be very honest with me. When you look at the van, does it look solid, real, or does it look strange in any way? It looks real. It looks like a van. Why are you asking me these questions? Just checking something. Don't worry. But I was worried. Because there were two possibilities now, and both of them were wrong in different ways. Either Derek was experiencing some kind of hallucination, or break from reality. Seeing something that didn't exist, or the camera system was failing to show me something that was really there. I switched to the radio. Agent Grant, this is Base. Update on your ETA? Base, this is Grant. Currently, about 55 minutes out. Is there a change in situation? I hesitated. How did I explain this? That my caller was reporting a van that my camera couldn't see? That either he was hallucinating, or my equipment was failing, or something else was happening that I didn't understand. The situation may be more complex than initially reported. Possible witness reliability issues or technical difficulties on our end. Maintain cautious approach when you arrive. Copy that. We'll proceed with appropriate caution. I switched back to the phone line. Derek was saying something, his voice higher, more urgent. Saw someone. I definitely saw someone that time. Derek, slow down. What did you see? Someone walked past the van, between the van and my car. I saw them clearly, a person walking across the road. Can you describe them? It was dark. They were just a silhouette, moving from the right side of the road to the left, walking slowly. They didn't look at me, didn't acknowledge my car at all, just walked past and kept going into the desert. What direction are they going now? They're gone. They walked past and disappeared into the darkness. Should I follow them? Should I try to help? No, absolutely not. Stay in your vehicle with the doors locked. Do not exit for any reason. On my camera feed, I saw nothing. No person, no movement. Just Derek's car, headlights illuminating empty pavement. Derek, I need you to tell me the truth. Have you slept recently? Have you been driving for a long time tonight? I slept fine last night. I've only been driving for 2 hours. I'm not tired. I'm not seeing things. There was someone there. His voice was firm, defensive. He knew what I was implying. I believe you, I said, though I wasn't sure if I did. I just need to understand exactly what's happening. Agent Grant will be there soon. Just stay in your vehicle and keep watching. If you see the person again, try to get a better description, but do not approach or follow. Okay. I'm watching. I pulled up the incident log and added another entry. Caller reports seeing individual walking near scene, disappeared into desert. Unable to confirm via camera surveillance. Then I did something else I probably shouldn't have done. I pulled up our case database and searched for recent incidents on Route 89 near mile marker 457. Nothing in the last 6 months. The road was quiet. Rarely saw any FBI activity. Just empty desert and the occasional tourist heading to or from Page. I expanded the search to a 20-mile radius and went back a year. Still nothing. No abandoned vehicles, no missing persons, no reported incidents of any kind. I was about to close the search when I noticed something in the archived files. A report from 3 years ago, filed by an agent in our office who'd since transferred. The report was sparse, just a few lines. Highway Patrol had found a white van abandoned on Route 89, approximately mile marker 460. No plates, no registration, no owner could be located. The van had been impounded and eventually sold at auction when no one claimed it. Mile marker 460 was 3 miles from where Derek was right now. 3 miles from where he was reporting a white van with no plates. I checked the date on the report. September 18th, 3 years ago. Today was September 18th. Same location, same date, 3 years apart. That was either a coincidence or it was something else. I pulled up the original report and read through the details. The van had been discovered by a highway patrol officer making a routine patrol at approximately 11:45 p.m. Engine running, doors open, no occupants. No signs of foul play, no blood, no personal effects. Just an empty van with the engine running. The officer had waited 30 minutes for someone to return. When no one did, he called for a tow truck and had it impounded. The investigation had been perfunctory. No crime had been committed. No one had been reported missing. The van had no registration information. It was treated as simple abandonment, possibly a stolen vehicle dumped after a joyride. But now, 3 years later, Derek was reporting the exact same thing. White van, no plates, engine running, doors open, nobody around. In almost the exact same location, on the exact same date. That wasn't coincidence, that was pattern. Derek, I said carefully, I need to ask you something. What's today's date? What? It's September 18th. Why? Just confirming. And what time did you first see the van? I don't know exactly. Maybe 11:30? I called you guys pretty much right away. 11:30 p.m. 15 minutes before the highway patrol officer had found the abandoned van 3 years ago. I felt cold despite the warm office air. Derek, has anything else unusual happened? Anything at all? Even if it seems unrelated? No, the drive was normal until I saw the van. Wait, actually, that's weird. My phone. What about your phone? It died right before I saw the van. It was at like 60% battery, then it just shut off. I tried to restart it, but it won't turn on. That's why I'm calling from my car's Bluetooth system. Dead phone. Another detail that seemed minor but felt significant in context. Derek, I want you to check something for me. Look at your car's clock. What time does it show? A pause. It shows 11:47. I looked at my computer. The system time showed 12:03 a.m. And what about your watch, if you're wearing one? I am. That's weird. It shows 12:03. So your car's clock is 16 minutes slow? I guess. But it's synced to GPS. It shouldn't be wrong. 16 minutes. The same amount of time the camera timestamp was behind. Things were starting to connect in ways I didn't like. Patterns forming that suggested this wasn't a simple abandoned vehicle call. This was something else. Something that repeated. Something that existed in a space where time didn't quite work right. Derek, I need you to listen very carefully. I'm going to ask you to do something that might seem strange. but I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Yeah, okay. What do you need me to do? I need you to turn around and drive away from the van. Drive south, back toward Flagstaff. Drive until you have cell phone service again, until your phone turns back on. Then call me from your cell. Can you do that? What? Why? What about the van? What about the person I saw? Agent Grant is still en route. He'll handle the situation when he arrives, but I need you to leave the area now. This is for your safety. I don't understand. You said to wait for the agent. Now you're telling me to leave? How could I explain that I thought he was caught in something that had happened before, that was happening again, that might happen to him if he stayed? How could I explain that without sounding insane? The situation has changed. We have additional information that suggests this may not be a simple abandoned vehicle. For your safety, I need you to leave the area immediately. Drive south until you're clear of the area and your phone works again. Then call this number back. But what about Derek, please? Just trust me. Drive south now. I heard the transmission shift, heard his car start to move. On the camera feed, his taillights grew brighter as he accelerated, driving away from the position where he'd been stopped. Driving away from the van, I couldn't see. I'm driving, he said. This feels wrong, like I'm abandoning someone who might need help. You're doing the right thing. Just keep driving. Let me know when your phone comes back on. I watched the camera feed. His taillights moved south, growing smaller, disappearing around a curve in the highway. The camera view showed empty road. No van, no person. Nothing but pavement and desert. The timestamp still showed 23:34, frozen in that moment 17 minutes ago. I switched to the radio. Agent Grant, this is Base. Go ahead, Base. Situation update. Civilian caller has been advised to evacuate the area and is currently driving south on Route 89. Recommend you continue to mile marker 457, but approach with extreme caution. Possible recurring incident with historical precedent. There was a pause. Base, can you clarify recurring incident? Similar abandoned vehicle reported at same location 3 years ago to the day. Same description, same circumstances. Unknown if connected, but proceeding with assumption of non-random pattern. Understood. We'll proceed with caution and full documentation. ETA now 40 minutes. I sat back and waited. Watched the camera feed show nothing but empty highway. Waited for Derek to call back and confirm he was clear. 1 minute passed, 2, 5. At 10 minutes, I tried calling the number he'd called from. It rang, but no one answered. Just rang and rang until it went to a generic voicemail. I checked the camera feed again. His car should have been several miles south by now, well out of range of the camera's view. The feed still showed empty highway. Timestamp still frozen at 23:34. At 15 minutes, I tried the number again. Same result. Ringing with no answer. At 20 minutes, I switched to the radio. Agent Grant, this is Base. Have you had any visual contact with a civilian vehicle heading south on Route 89? Negative, Base. Road has been empty. No southbound traffic. He should have passed Derek by now. Their paths should have crossed somewhere on Route 89 between Flagstaff and mile marker 457. Copy that. Continue to destination. Civilian caller is not responding to callback attempts. Understood. Will advise when on scene. I pulled up the incident log and stared at it. The call had come in at 23:34. I'd logged it properly, documented everything Derek had reported, followed all protocols. But now Derek wasn't answering. His car hadn't been seen by the agent heading to the location, and my camera showed nothing but empty highway. I pulled up the recording system and requested the audio file of the call. Standard procedure. All calls to the FBI comm desk were automatically recorded for training and legal purposes. The system processed my request and returned the file. Call received on line 7 at 23:34 p.m. Duration, 47 minutes. Caller ID, Arizona area code number not available. I clicked play. Static. Just static and silence. I fast-forwarded through the file. 47 minutes of static. No voices. No conversation. No sounds of a car engine or wind or anything Derek had described. The recording was blank. But I'd talked to him. I'd heard his voice. I'd documented everything he said. I had detailed notes right here on my desk, written in my own handwriting. I checked the system log. Line 7 had definitely lit up at 23:34. The call had definitely come through. The system had logged it as a 47-minute conversation, but the recording showed nothing. I tried calling the number again. Straight to voicemail this time, not even ringing. I opened my incident report and read through it. Everything was there. Derek Palmer, NAU student, reporting abandoned white van at mile marker 457, describing the scene in detail, seeing someone walking past, all of it documented. I hadn't imagined it. The call had happened, but according to the recording, I'd spent 47 minutes on a line with nothing but static. Agent Grant's voice came through on the radio. Base, I'm approaching mile marker 457. Will advise when on scene. Copy that. Approach with caution. I waited. Watched the timestamp on the radio transmission. 12:38 a.m. Base, I'm at mile marker 457. Road is clear. No abandoned vehicle visible. No civilian vehicle. No signs of any activity. Area is completely empty. Can you confirm mile marker 457 on Route 89? Confirmed. I'm stopped at the marker. There's nothing here. I looked at the camera feed. It showed the same stretch of highway, empty. The timestamp had finally updated. It now showed 12:38 a.m., matching the current time. Copy that, Agent Grant. Stand by. I pulled up the historical report from 3 years ago and read it again. White van found abandoned at mile marker 460 on September 18th at approximately 11:45 p.m. Then I pulled up the highway patrol records from that night. Found the full report. The officer had filed additional notes after the initial discovery. He'd mentioned in his narrative that he'd received a call about the abandoned vehicle from a passerby who'd stopped to check on it. The passerby had waited with the van until the officer arrived, then driven away after giving a statement. The passerby's name was listed in the report. Derek Palmer, Northern Arizona University student, driving south from Page on Route 89. I read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't misreading. Derek Palmer had called in the abandoned van 3 years ago, had waited at the scene, had given a statement to the highway patrol officer, then had driven away, and tonight Derek Palmer had called again, reporting the same van in almost the same location, on the same date. But Derek Palmer would be 3 years older now, would remember calling in an abandoned van on this road, would remember the experience. Unless he didn't. Unless he couldn't. I went to the DMV database and searched for Derek Palmer, NAU student. Found 3 matches in Arizona. Pulled up the photos. The third one matched. Young male, early 20s, brown hair, current address in Flagstaff. Date of birth, August 12, 2001. Status, deceased. Date of death, September 18th, 3 years ago. Cause, single vehicle accident on Route 89, mile marker 459. I stared at the screen. The words wouldn't process. Deceased 3 years ago. The same night he'd called in the abandoned van. I pulled up the accident report. Derek Palmer had been driving south on Route 89 at approximately 12:15 a.m. on September 18th. His vehicle had left the road at mile marker 459, struck a rock formation, and rolled. He'd been killed instantly. The accident had occurred less than 2 hours after he'd called in the abandoned van to highway patrol, less than a mile from where the van had been sitting. I looked at my incident log. Derek Palmer had called me at 23:34 tonight, September 18th, 3 years after he died on this same road. The phone on my desk rang. Line 7, the same line Derek had called from. I stared at it for 3 rings, 4, 5. On the 6th ring, I picked up. FBI Flagstaff Office, Agent Mason speaking. Static crackled on the line. Underneath it, I could hear wind, then a voice. Male, young, scared. Need help? Route 89, mile marker. The same voice, the same words, the exact same call, starting again. I slammed the phone down. The handset clattered against the desk, then went silent. For a long moment, I sat there staring at it, my heart hammering. The office was too quiet. The fluorescent lights above me buzzed with a frequency that seemed to match the static I'd heard on the line. This wasn't possible. None of this was possible. Derek Palmer was dead. He'd been dead for 3 years. He couldn't call me. He couldn't report an abandoned van. He couldn't be driving south on Route 89 right now, 47 minutes after making the initial call. But I'd talked to him. I had notes. I had documentation. The system log showed a 47-minute call on line 7. And now, line 7 was ringing again. I grabbed my coffee, realized it had gone cold, set it down. My hands were shaking slightly. I pressed them flat on the desk to steady them. The phone stopped ringing. I counted to 10, breathing slowly, trying to process what was happening. Option 1, I was having some kind of breakdown, hallucinating the call, the conversation, everything. Maybe stress, maybe lack of sleep, maybe some undiagnosed medical condition finally manifesting. Option 2, someone was playing an elaborate prank, using Derek Palmer's name and information, somehow spoofing the call records, the DMV database, everything. But why and how? Option 3, something impossible was happening, something that violated every rule of reality I understood. None of the options were good. The radio crackled. Base, this is Grant. I've completed a full sweep of mile marker 457 and surrounding area. No vehicles, no persons, no evidence of recent activity. Request permission to return to base. I grabbed the radio handset. Negative, Grant. Stand by at that location. I need you to check something else. Copy. Standing by. I pulled up the accident report on my computer and found the exact location of Derek Palmer's fatal crash. Mile marker 459. 2 miles north of where Grant was currently positioned. Agent Grant, proceed north to mile marker 459. I need you to check for any signs of a vehicle accident at that location. Mile marker 459? Base, I'm not following. What does this have to do with the abandoned vehicle report? Just humor me. Please. Check mile marker 459 for any evidence of a crash. Recent or otherwise. A pause. Copy that, proceeding to mile marker 459. I waited, watching the digital clock on my desk count forward. 12:42 a.m. 12:43 a.m. Each minute felt stretched, distorted. The phone rang again. Line 7. I didn't answer it. It rang 10 times, then stopped. Base. I'm at mile marker 459. There's debris here. My stomach dropped. What kind of debris? Glass. Broken glass scattered across the shoulder and into the road. Looks like it's from a vehicle. There's also paint transfer on that rock formation about 20 feet off the road. dark blue or black? Consistent with a vehicle strike. Is the debris recent? Hard to say for certain without proper lighting. Some of it looks fresh. The paint transfer looks old, weathered, but the glass, I don't know, it's scattered in a pattern suggesting impact, not dumping. Derek's car had been dark blue, according to the DMV records. The accident report said he'd struck a rock formation. Agent Grant, are there any vehicles in the area? Any signs of recent activity? Negative. The glass is here, but there's no vehicle. No other evidence of anyone being here recently. The glass was there, but the car wasn't. Just like the van had been there for Derek, but not for the camera. Not for Grant when he arrived. Things that existed in one version of right now, but not another. Grant, I need you to stay at that location and document everything you see. Photos, measurements, exact description of the debris field. Full forensic protocol. Understood. Base, can you tell me what's going on? This feels like more than an abandoned vehicle call. I'm working on that. Just document everything and stand by. I disconnected and pulled up the case files again. Started cross-referencing every detail. Derek Palmer died September 18th, 3 years ago, at approximately 12:15 a.m. But he'd called Highway Patrol at 11:45 p.m. that same night to report the abandoned van, which meant he'd died 30 minutes after making the call, while driving south from the abandoned van's location. The same route I'd told him to drive tonight. I'd told him to drive south, to get clear of the area, and 3 years ago, he'd driven south from that same location and died. And tonight, I'd taken a call from him, talked to him for 47 minutes, told him to drive south again. The pattern was repeating. The same date, the same location, the same sequence of events. Was I part of the pattern? Had another agent taken Derek's call 3 years ago, talked to him, advised him, sent him south to his death? I pulled up the Highway Patrol report again and looked for details on how Derek had contacted them. The report said he'd flagged down a passing patrol officer who'd been making routine rounds on Route 89. No phone call mentioned. He'd reported it in person, so that was different. This time he'd called instead of flagging down an officer. This time he'd talked to me for 47 minutes instead of waiting at the scene. This time the pattern was changing. Or maybe the pattern had always been different. Maybe I was just seeing a different iteration of something that played out in multiple ways. The phone rang. Line 7. I looked at it, counted the rings. On the 5th ring, I picked up. FBI Flagstaff Office, Agent Mason speaking. Please, need help. Can you hear me? Derek's voice. Desperate now. Scared in a way that went beyond nervousness. Derek, this is Agent Mason. I can hear you. Thank God. I've been trying to call. The line keeps cutting out. I don't know what's happening. Derek, I need you to tell me exactly where you are right now. I'm in my car. I drove south like you said, but something's wrong. The road doesn't look right. I've been driving for 15 minutes, but I haven't passed any mile markers. Haven't seen any other cars. It's like the road just goes on forever. Do you see anything familiar? Any landmarks? No, just road and desert. Wait, there's something ahead. Lights. I think it's a vehicle. Derek, do not approach the vehicle. Do you understand? Stay in your car and... It's the van. It's the same white van. It's just sitting there in the road. How is that possible? I drove away from it. I could hear the panic rising in his voice. The confusion. Derek, listen to me carefully. You need to turn around. Do not pass the van. Turn your car around and drive the other direction. I can't. There's someone standing in the road behind me. I see them in my rearview mirror, the person I saw earlier. They're just standing there in the middle of the road. Okay, listen to me. Put your car in gear and drive around the van. Off-road if you have to, just get past it and keep driving. I'm driving, but the van, it's getting closer. I'm not moving toward it, but it's getting closer. That wasn't possible. If he was stationary and the van was stationary, the distance between them shouldn't change. Unless one of them was moving. Or, unless distance didn't work the way it was supposed to in whatever space Derek was currently occupying. Derek, check your dashboard. What does your GPS show? It's not working. It's just showing a blank screen. My phone is still dead. Everything's dead except the car and this Bluetooth connection to you. What about the time? What time does your car show? A pause. 11:47. But that can't be right. I've been driving for 15 minutes. It should be after midnight by now. 11:47. The same time it had shown earlier. The same time the camera timestamp had been frozen at, offset by 17 minutes. Derek was stuck in a loop of time, or experiencing time that didn't connect properly to the present moment, moving through space that didn't map correctly to real geography. Derek, I need you to try something. I need you to stop driving and turn off your car completely. Engine off, lights off, everything. Then count to 10 and restart it. What? Why? Just trust me. Turn everything off, count to 10, then restart. I heard the engine cut. Heard Derek counting quietly. 1, 2, 3. On my computer, I pulled up the camera feed for Route 89. It still showed empty highway, no vehicles, no movement. 8, 9, 10. The engine started again. Okay, it's back on. What now? What do you see? Is the van still there? No, it's gone. The road ahead is empty. And the person behind me is gone too. It's just me on an empty highway. Relief flooded through me. Maybe that had worked. Maybe resetting his electrical systems had broken whatever loop he was caught in. Good, that's good. Now, check your GPS. Is it working? Yeah, it's back on. It's showing I'm on Route 89 mile marker. That can't be right. What does it show? Mile marker 457. But I drove away from there. I drove south for 15 minutes. I should be miles away from there. He was back where he started. The loop had reset, deposited him back at the beginning. Derek, what time does your dashboard show now? It shows 12:07. Current time. He'd jumped forward to the present. And your phone? Still dead, won't turn on. Okay, listen very carefully. I need you to drive north this time, not south. Drive north on Route 89. Don't stop, don't slow down. Just drive north until you reach the town of Marble Canyon. Do you understand? North? But Flagstaff is south. I know, but I need you to drive north. There's something wrong with the road south of your position. North should be clear. Drive to Marble Canyon and call me from there. This doesn't make sense. What's happening? What was that van? I don't know, but I need you to trust me and drive north. Can you do that? Yeah, I'm driving north. I listened to the sound of his engine, the road noise, trying to detect anything unusual. Agent Mason, I'm here. I'm scared. I don't understand what's happening. That van, it shouldn't have been in front of me. I drove away from it. And that person in the road, they were just standing there, not moving. Just watching. I know. Just keep driving north. Keep talking to me. Okay. I'm about 2 miles north of where I was. Still no other traffic, no lights, just empty road. I pulled up a map and traced Route 89 north from mile marker 457. Marble Canyon was about 40 miles north. Small, tourist town on the edge of the Vermilion Cliffs. There'd be people there, witnesses, reality, if Derek could reach it. How's the road looking? I asked. Empty. Dark. There's supposed to be a scenic overlook coming up. I passed it on the way south. I should be seeing it soon. Let me know when you see it. Minutes passed. I could hear him breathing, hear the steady hum of his engine. Agent Mason, I should have passed that overlook by now. I know this road. I drive it all the time. The overlook should be right here. Maybe you missed it in the dark? No, there's a sign. A big official Park Service sign. I couldn't miss it. But it's not here. It's like the road is missing pieces. Or like he was driving through a version of Route 89 that wasn't quite complete. A copy that had gaps. Keep going. Marble Canyon is about 40 miles from your starting position. You should see signs for it in about 20 minutes. Okay, I'm going to keep driving, but this feels really wrong. The radio crackled. Base, this is Grant. I've completed documentation of the debris field at mile marker 459. What are your instructions? I keyed the mic. Grant, stay at your position. I may need you to intercept a civilian vehicle heading north on Route 89. Dark blue sedan, single occupant. Flag him down if you see him. Copy that. What's the situation? Ongoing investigation. Just flag him down and hold him at your position until I can coordinate. Don't let him drive north past your location. Understood. I switched back to the phone. Derek, you should be approaching another agent's position soon. He's at mile marker 459. When you see his vehicle, pull over and wait with him. Don't drive past him. Why? Because there was an accident at mile marker 459 3 years ago. And I need to make sure you don't. I need to make sure you stay safe. An accident? What kind of accident? I couldn't tell him. Couldn't explain that 3 years ago, Derek Palmer had died at mile marker 459 while driving this same route on this same night. Couldn't explain that I was talking to a dead man who didn't know he was dead. Just pull over when you see the agent's vehicle, please. All right, I'm watching for it. More time passed. 2 minutes, 5, 10. Derek, what's your mile marker? I can't see any markers. They should be there, but they're just not. The road is dark and empty, and there's nothing but pavement and desert. What does your GPS show? It's not updating. It still shows mile marker 457, like I never moved. He was driving, but not moving, or moving through space that didn't register as distance, stuck in some kind of loop or fold where the geography didn't connect to itself properly. Agent Mason, I see lights ahead. Is that your agent? Describe what you see. Vehicle on the side of the road, lights on. Looks like it might be an SUV. Is that him? Grant was driving an SUV. Black Suburban, FBI issue. That could be him. Slow down and approach cautiously. Flash your headlights to signal. I switched to the radio. Agent Grant, do you have visual on a northbound civilian vehicle? Negative, base. Road is clear. No northbound traffic. I switched back to the phone. Derek, are you approaching the vehicle? Yeah, I'm slowing down. I'm about 100 yards away now. Can you see the person inside? No, the windows are tinted. Wait, the vehicle is moving. It's pulling out onto the road. Grant, I radioed. Are you repositioning your vehicle? Negative, base. I'm stationary on the shoulder. Derek was seeing a vehicle that Grant couldn't see, or Grant was there, but in a different version of now. Derek, what's the vehicle doing? It's driving away. North. It's the van. It's the white van again. How is that possible? Derek, turn around, right now. Turn around and drive back south. But you said, I know what I said. Plans have changed. Turn around now and drive back to mile marker 457. Because whatever was happening, south had stopped being dangerous, and north had become something worse. The van was north now, leading him away from safety. Or maybe there was no safety. Maybe every direction led to the same place eventually. I heard his car slowing. heard the transmission shift as he executed a U-turn. I'm heading south now. This is insane. That van keeps appearing, like it's following me. How fast are you driving? 60, maybe 65. Go faster, 75. Get clear of that area as quickly as possible. I'm accelerating, 70, 75, 80. I could hear the engine straining, hear the wind noise increase. Okay, I'm doing 80 now. The van is behind me. I can see it in my rear view. It's following me. How far behind you? Maybe 200 yards. It's matching my speed. Impossible. An abandoned van with no driver, keeping pace with a car doing 80 miles per hour. Derek, I need you to focus on the road ahead. Don't look at the rearview mirror. Just drive. It's getting closer. Even though I'm doing 80, it's getting closer. Keep your eyes forward. Tell me what you see ahead. Just road. Empty road. Wait, there's something. Lights. Different lights, not headlights, red and blue. Police lights, or... Derek, what's your position? I don't know. The mile markers still aren't showing. The GPS isn't updating. I'm just driving and that van is getting closer and there are police lights ahead and I don't know where I am. His voice had risen to near panic. I could hear it in every word. Derek, slow down. Carefully slow down and pull over. The police lights might be Agent Grant. I'm slowing down. The van is still behind me. It's only about 50 yards back now. Just pull over and stop. I've got another agent in the area. He'll help you. I'm stopped. I'm on the shoulder. The police lights are ahead. The van is behind me. What do I do? Stay in your vehicle. Lock the doors. Wait for my agent to approach. I radioed Grant. Agent Grant, do you have visual on a civilian vehicle? Dark blue sedan, stopped on the shoulder? Negative base. Still no traffic visible. They were in the same area but couldn't see each other, occupying the same space but different versions of it. Derek, can you see the person in the vehicle with the police lights? It's too far ahead, maybe 100 yards. Wait, someone's getting out. Someone's walking toward me. Can you describe them? Too dark. Just a silhouette. They're walking slowly, coming from the vehicle ahead. Grant didn't mention anyone walking. Grant couldn't see Derek's car. Derek, I need you to lock your doors right now. Don't open them for anyone until you're absolutely certain who they are. They're locked. The person is getting closer, about 50 yards away now. Can you see any details? Uniform, badge? No, just a dark figure. They're walking in the middle of the road. And behind me, the van's headlights just turned on. It's just sitting there with its lights on. Front and back, pinned between the van and the approaching figure. Derek, I need you to drive off-road. Four-wheel drive or not, just turn the wheel and drive into the desert. Get off the road. There's rocks. I might get stuck. Better stuck than trapped. Drive now. I heard the engine revvy. Heard the change in sound as the tires left pavement and hit dirt and stone. I'm off-road. I'm driving parallel to the highway. The person is still on the road, just watching me. The van... I can't see the van anymore. Keep going. Put distance between you and the road. Okay, I'm maybe 50 yards off the highway now. There's a lot of rocks. I'm having to go slow. That's fine. Just maintain your distance from the road. The person is gone. I can't see them anymore. The police lights are gone too. It's just dark desert. What about the van? I don't see it. Everything's just gone, like it was never there. Maybe he'd broken free. Maybe driving off the road had taken him outside the loop's boundaries. Derek, check your GPS. What does it show? A pause. It's working. It shows I'm about a quarter-mile east of Route 89, near mile marker 459. Mile marker 459. Where he'd died 3 years ago. And what time does it show? 12:15 a.m. 12:15 a.m. The exact time of his fatal accident 3 years ago. Derek, I need you to turn back toward the highway, very carefully. Watch for rocks, but get back to the pavement. Are you sure? Whatever's out there, trust me. Get back to the highway. I heard the car turning, heard him navigating slowly over rough terrain. I'm heading back toward the road. I can see it ahead. No vehicles, no lights, just empty highway. Good. When you reach it, I need you to drive south, fast. Don't stop for anything until you reach Flagstaff city limits. Okay, I'm almost back to the pavement. Just a few more yards. The radio crackled. Grant's voice, but strange, distant, distorted. Base, vehicle, headlights approaching. The signal degraded into static. Grant, repeat. You're breaking up. Civilian vehicle, off-road, approaching highway. The line cleared for just a moment. Base. I have visual on a dark blue sedan approaching the highway from the east. It's... Wait. Something's wrong with it. What do you mean wrong? The way it's moving, it's not moving right. It's jerking, like stop motion, like I'm seeing it in frozen frames. On the phone, Derek's voice. I'm back on the highway. I'm accelerating south. I can see lights behind me. Is that your agent? Grant, I radioed. Are you pursuing a southbound vehicle? Negative. The vehicle I saw approach the highway and then it disappeared. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, like it blinked out of existence. Derek, can you still see the lights behind you? Yes, they're following me. Oh God. What? What is it? It's the van. It's the white van. It's behind me again. How is it behind me? I drove off the road. How did it find me? The van was everywhere Derek went. Or Derek was caught in a space where the van was always present, always waiting. Derek, how far are you from the lights? Maybe 100 yards. They're maintaining distance, just following. What's your speed? 70. I'm doing 70 and it's just staying the same distance behind me. I looked at the clock. 12:17 a.m. 2 minutes past the time Derek had died 3 years ago. He was in overtime now, living in moments he'd never reached before, unless he had. Unless this was the loop playing out the same way it always did. And somewhere in the archives was a record of Derek Palmer calling the FBI at 11:34 p.m., talking for over an hour, dying sometime after 12:15 a.m. Derek, stay on the line. Keep driving. Tell me what you see. Road, just road. The van is still behind me. There's something ahead. Debris. There's debris on the road. Glass. The glass from his accident. From the crash that had killed him. Derek, slow down. There might be hazards on the road. I'm slowing down. There's a lot of glass. It's all over the road, fresh glass. And there's a car off the road. It's crashed into the rocks. Can you see what kind of car? It's dark blue. It's a sedan. It looks like my car. His car. The one he was currently driving. Crashed into the rocks. Derek, drive past it. Don't stop. Just drive past and keep going. There's someone in it. I can see someone in the driver's seat. Derek, I'm pulling over. Someone might need help. No. Do not stop. Do not exit your vehicle. But I heard his car slowing. Heard the transmission shift to park. I have to check. Someone might be hurt. Derek Palmer, listen to me. Do not open your door. That's not a person in that car. How do you know my last name? I never told you my last name. I'd made a mistake. In my panic, I'd used his full name. The name I knew from the DMV records, from the death certificate. Derek, please trust me. Do not exit your vehicle. Who are you? How do you know who I am? I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to save you. Save me from what? From dying. From a crash that happened 3 years ago that was somehow happening again tonight. From a loop. You're caught in a loop. This night keeps repeating and you keep not making it through. That's insane. I know how it sounds, but think about it. Your phone died. Your GPS keeps failing. You keep seeing the same van over and over. Time keeps jumping around. None of this is normal. He was quiet. I could hear him breathing, hear his car idling. The person in the crashed car, he said quietly. Is that me? Yes. Am I dead? I don't know. 3 years ago, Derek Palmer died on this road at mile marker 459. And tonight you called me from this same road, and everything that's happened suggests you're caught in some kind of temporal loop. I don't understand it, but I'm trying to help you break free from it. If I'm dead, how am I talking to you? I don't know. The phone line crackled with static. Behind it, I thought I heard something. Whispering, maybe. Or wind. Or the sound of reality breaking down. The van, Derek said. It's gone. I looked away for a second, and when I looked back, it was gone. That's good. Maybe you're breaking free. No, it's not good. It was behind me. It was following me. And now it's not there anymore, which means it's somewhere else. Where's somewhere else? I don't know, but I can feel it. It's close. The crash was sudden and loud, metal tearing, glass shattering, the scream of brakes that engaged too late. Then silence. Derek! Derek! Nothing. The line was still open. I could hear something. Creaking metal, a hissing sound like a punctured tire or a ruptured coolant line. Then a voice. Distant. Hollow. It was waiting for me, right there in front of me. I didn't see it until it was too late. Derek, are you hurt? Can you move? I can't feel my legs. There's blood, a lot of blood. Help is coming. Agent Grant is in the area. He'll find you. No, he won't. You said it yourself. We can't see each other. We're in different versions of the same place. He was right. Grant hadn't been able to see Derek's car. They existed in the same location but couldn't interact. Derek, I need you to stay with me. Keep talking. I'm tired. I'm so tired. Stay awake. Tell me about NAU. Tell me about your classes. I don't remember. I don't remember any of it. I just remember driving. I've been driving forever. Every night, this same road, this same drive, and I never make it home. You're going to make it home tonight. I'm going to make sure of it. How? I didn't have an answer. I didn't know how to save someone who'd already died 3 years ago. Didn't know how to break a loop that existed outside normal time. The van, Derek whispered. It's here. It's right next to me. The door is opening. Derek, don't look at it. Keep your eyes closed. Someone's getting out. They're walking toward my car. Derek, they're at my window. They're looking at me. Who is it? What do you see? A long pause. Then, in a voice that sounded hollow, empty. Me, it's me. The line went dead. I sat there holding the phone, listening to silence. Then line 7 lit up again. I let it ring. Once, twice, 10 times. On the 11th ring I picked up. FBI Flagstaff Office, Agent Mason speaking. Static crackled on the line. Then a voice. Male. Young. Scared. Need help. Route 89. Mile marker. The call was starting again. The same call, the same words, the same Derek Palmer, caught at the beginning of a loop that would end with his death at mile marker 459. Again and again and again, and I was part of it now, taking the call, documenting it, sending him south to his death, unable to save him, unable to break the pattern. Just another element in a loop that would repeat forever. I did the only thing I could think to do. I hung up the phone. The phone didn't ring again for the rest of the night. I sat at the dispatch desk, staring at line 7, waiting for it to light up. Waiting for Derek Palmer's voice to come through, asking for help that I couldn't provide. But it stayed dark. The call didn't repeat. The loop, if that's what it was, had stopped when I refused to participate. At 12:34 a.m., Agent Grant radioed in. "Base, I'm returning from mile marker 459. Documentation is complete. No other activity to report. What are your instructions?" I keyed the mic. "Return to base. I'll brief you when you arrive." "Copy that. ETA 20 minutes. I used those 20 minutes to try to make sense of what had happened. Pulled up every file, every record, every piece of documentation I could find related to Derek Palmer or Route 89 or the white van. The more I searched, the less sense it made. Derek Palmer's accident report was straightforward. Single vehicle crash, driver fatality, no other parties involved. The investigation had concluded it was likely drowsy driving or momentary inattention. The road was dark, the hour was late, the driver had struck a rock formation at speed. Tragic, but not unusual. The report made no mention of an abandoned van, no mention of him calling highway patrol, no mention of him stopping to help anyone. But the highway patrol report from that same night did mention finding an abandoned white van near mile marker 460, just a mile north of the crash site. The officer had noted it in his log, had called for a tow truck, had processed it as standard abandoned property. That officer's name was listed in the report. Officer James Wyatt. I pulled up Wyatt's current assignment. He'd moved from Highway Patrol to FBI liaison 3 years ago. Transferred to the Tucson office. He was working night shift there now. The same Wyatt who'd told Agent Reed to close the files on the white van surveillance reports. The same Wyatt who'd told Reed that looking too closely at these things made them look back. I picked up my cell phone and called the Tucson office. It rang 4 times before someone answered. "Tucson Field Office, Agent Wyatt speaking. This is Agent Mason in Flagstaff. We need to talk." A pause. "What's this regarding?" "Derek Palmer, Route 89, September 8th. The pause was longer this time. When Wyatt spoke again, his voice had changed, quieter, more guarded. "What happened?" "I got the call, the same call, tonight." Jesus, how did it end? "He crashed at mile marker 459, just like 3 years ago. I listened to it happen. Then the call started again. The same call, from the beginning, like it was on a loop." "And you're still taking the calls?" "No, I hung up. The second time, I hung up and didn't answer when it rang again." "Good. That's good. Don't answer if it rings again." "What is this? What's happening on that road?" Wyatt was quiet for a long moment. I could hear him breathing, could almost feel him debating how much to tell me. 3 years ago, I was a highway patrol officer working the overnight shift on Route 89. At approximately 11:45 p.m. on September 18th, I came across an abandoned white van near mile marker 460. Engine running, doors open, nobody around. Standard abandoned vehicle situation. While I was waiting for the tow truck, a civilian driver pulled over. College kid named Derek Palmer. Said he'd seen the van earlier, thought about stopping but decided to keep going. But it had bothered him enough that he turned around and came back to check on it. We talked for maybe 15 minutes. He gave a statement, I filed my report. He drove away heading south toward Flagstaff. That was the last time anyone saw him alive. About 30 minutes later, I got the call about a fatal accident at mile marker 459. Single vehicle, driver fatality. When I responded, I found Derek Palmer's car wrapped around that rock formation. He'd been doing at least 70 when he hit. Died on impact. I've thought about that night a lot. Wondered if there was a connection between the abandoned van and the crash. Wondered if seeing the van had rattled him, made him drive too fast, made him not pay attention. Wondered if I should have told him to wait longer, not drive right away. But it was just a coincidence, had to be. People crash on that road all the time. It was late, he was probably tired. The road is dangerous, nothing supernatural about it. Except... He stopped. I waited. Except every year on September 18th, I get a call about an abandoned white van on Route 89. Different callers, different times, but always the same van, always the same location, always the same date. The first year after Derek died, the call came through dispatch. Young woman said she'd found a white van with the doors open, wanted to report it. Dispatch sent a unit. When the officer arrived, there was no van. The woman who called couldn't be reached again. Her number went to a disconnected line. The second year, I took the call myself. Young man said he'd seen the van, stopped to help, couldn't find anyone. I drove out there, no van, called the number back. Disconnected. This year, this is the third year, and you got the call. Same van, same situation. Except this time the caller was Derek Palmer. The same Derek Palmer who died 3 years ago. How is that possible? It's not. That's the point. None of this is possible, but it keeps happening anyway. What do we do about it? Nothing. We document it and we move on. We don't investigate it because there's nothing to investigate. We don't chase it because there's nowhere it leads except in circles. But someone died. Derek Palmer died. And now his death is somehow repeating, and we're part of it. I know, believe me, I know. But what would you have me do? File a report saying we're receiving calls from dead people about vans that don't exist? Open an investigation into a temporal loop? There's no protocol for this. There's no procedure. All we can do is note it and carry on. That can't be all we can do. Then tell me what else there is. Because I've been thinking about this for 3 years, and I still don't have an answer. I didn't have an answer either. I sat there holding the phone, looking at my incident log with its careful documentation of a conversation that officially didn't exist. The call recording, I said, it's blank. The system shows I was on the line for 47 minutes, but the audio file is just static. Same thing happened to me last year, and to the dispatcher the first year. The calls happen. We experience them. But they don't leave evidence. They're not real in any way the system can measure. So we just forget about it? We try. Some nights it's easier than others. And Derek, what happens to him? I don't know. Maybe he's caught in a loop, living out that night over and over. Maybe we're the ones caught in a loop, receiving his call every year like an echo. Maybe it's something else entirely. I stopped trying to understand it. I thought about Derek's voice, the fear in it, the confusion when time started jumping around and geography stopped making sense. The resignation at the end when he realized he wasn't going to make it home. He knew, I said. At the end, he knew he'd been there before. He said he'd been driving forever, every night, the same road. Like he was aware of the loop, but couldn't break free from it. Yeah, that's the worst part. Not just that it happens, but that he knows it's happening to him. That somewhere, somehow, Derek Palmer is aware that he's stuck. We were both quiet. What was there to say? How do you process information like this? How do you reconcile reality with something that violates every rule reality is supposed to follow? If the call comes again, Wyatt said finally, don't answer it. I know that goes against every instinct, but answering it just feeds the loop, just makes you part of it. What if not answering makes it worse? What if that's what keeps him trapped? I don't think we have that kind of agency. I don't think anything we do changes anything. We're just witnesses to something we don't understand. Maybe he was right. Maybe we were powerless to change any of it. Or maybe we just told ourselves that to make it easier to live with. Agent Grant arrived at the office at 1:15 a.m. I briefed him on the night's events, leaving out the impossible parts. Told him about the call, the abandoned vehicle report, the civilian who'd claimed to see it but couldn't be verified. I didn't mention Derek Palmer's name. Didn't mention the loop or the death or any of it. Just filed it as a false report, caller unreachable, no evidence of incident. Standard procedure for calls that went nowhere. Grant accepted this without question. He'd documented the glass at mile marker 459, noted it in his report, moved on. In his version of the night, he'd found some debris, photographed it, and returned to base. Just another routine call. Only I knew it was anything but routine. At 6 o'clock a.m., my shift ended. The day shift dispatcher arrived. I briefed her on the overnight activity. Minimal, one false report, no significant incidents. And I headed home. I drove south on Route 89. The same road Derek had been on. The same road where he'd died 3 years ago and somehow called me from tonight. When I passed mile marker 459, I slowed down. The glass was still there, scattered across the shoulder and into the road. Paint transfer on the rock formation visible in the early morning light. Physical evidence of a crash that had happened 3 years ago. Or evidence of a crash that happened tonight. In a version of tonight I'd witnessed but couldn't prove. I didn't stop. I drove past, continued home, tried to sleep. But sleep didn't come. I lay in bed, watching daylight grow stronger outside my window, thinking about Derek Palmer, trapped in an endless loop of the worst night of his life. Wondering if next year, someone else would get the call. Wondering if it would be me again. Wondering if there was anything I could have done differently that would have changed the outcome. The questions circled in my mind, but no answers came. At 2 p.m., I gave up on sleep and pulled out my laptop. Started searching for any similar incidents. Temporal loops, repeating events, calls from dead people. Anything that might explain what I'd experienced. I found nothing credible. Just paranormal conspiracy theories and creative fiction. Nothing that resembled official documentation or serious investigation. But then I thought about what Wyatt had said. About there being no protocol for this. No procedure. No way to officially investigate something that violated the rules of reality. Which meant, even if other agents had experienced similar things, there'd be no record of it. No filed reports, no documentation, just individual experiences, filed away in people's memories, never discussed because there was no framework for discussing them. I opened my incident log from last night and read through it. My careful notes about Derek's call, the abandoned van, the timeline of events. All of it accurate. All of it impossible to prove. If I submitted this report officially, what would happen? Best case, it would be filed as a false report and forgotten. Worst case, I'd be flagged for psychological evaluation. Either way, nothing would change. So I did what Wyatt had advised. I documented it for my own records, noted the date and time and circumstances, and then I closed the file. Moved on. Tried to forget. But I couldn't forget Derek's voice. The fear. The confusion. The realization at the end. I've been driving forever. That's what he'd said. Like he was aware of the loop, but powerless to escape it. Somewhere in whatever strange space existed between the real Route 89 and the version Derek was trapped in, he was still driving. Still looking for a way home that he'd never find. And once a year, someone would get his call for help. Someone would try to help him, and someone would fail, just like I had. I thought about the white van, the thing that seemed to be at the center of all this, appearing in surveillance footage in impossible ways, appearing on Route 89 on September 18th, following Derek, waiting for him. What was it? A vehicle? A manifestation of something? A marker of some kind of boundary between normal space and wherever Derek was trapped? I didn't know, and I realized I probably never would. Some things didn't have explanations, or the explanations existed in spaces we couldn't access, using logic we couldn't understand. All I could do was what Wyatt had advised: note it, document it privately, carry on, and hope that next year, when September 18th came around again, someone else would get the call. Someone who might do better than I had. Someone who might find a way to break the loop. Because I hadn't. I'd tried, and I'd failed, and Derek Palmer was still trapped somewhere on Route 89, driving through an endless night that would never reach morning. At 10 o'clock p.m., I started my next shift, returned to the dispatch desk, logged in, prepared for another night of monitoring calls and radio traffic. Line 7 stayed dark all night. No calls about abandoned vehicles. No calls from Derek Palmer. Just routine communications and standard procedures. At 6 a.m., I went home again and tried to sleep. And this time, sleep came. But my dreams were full of white vans and empty highways and voices calling for help that would never arrive. That was 364 days ago. Tomorrow is September 18th again. I'm sitting at the dispatch desk, same shift, same chair, watching Line 7 stay dark. It's 11:30 p.m. In 4 minutes, if the pattern holds, the call will come through. Derek Palmer, Route 89. Mile marker 457. The same call I received last year. The same call Wyatt received the year before. The same call some dispatcher received the year before that. I've spent the last year thinking about this night, researching, trying to understand, trying to find a way to break the loop or save Derek or do something that might matter. I've read everything I could find about temporal anomalies, quantum loops, consciousness persistence after death. Most of it was nonsense. Some of it was interesting but untestable. None of it gave me a solution. I pulled the old Highway Patrol reports from September 18th, 3 years ago. Read them over and over, looking for details I might have missed. The abandoned van had been towed to an impound lot. It had sat there for 30 days waiting for someone to claim it. When no one did, it had been sold at auction. I tracked down the buyer, a used car dealer in Phoenix. He'd resold the van to a contractor 2 months later. The contractor had used it for 6 months, then traded it in when he upgraded his fleet. The van had changed hands 3 more times over the next 2 years. I lost the trail after that. Too many unregistered sales. Too many cash transactions that left no paper trail. The van might still be out there somewhere. Or it might have been scrapped. Or it might have disappeared back into whatever strange space it came from. I didn't know. And I was starting to realize it didn't matter. The physical van was just a vehicle, in every sense of the word. The real phenomenon was something else, something that used the image of a van as a focal point or marker or interface. I also pulled Derek Palmer's personal records, talked to his family, his friends, his professors at NAU, built a picture of who he'd been. He'd been a good student, studying environmental science, wanted to work for the Park Service, had a girlfriend he'd been planning to propose to after graduation, played guitar in a local band, volunteered at an animal shelter. A normal person, good person, someone who'd been driving home from visiting a friend and had the bad luck to encounter something impossible on a dark stretch of highway. His family still grieved. 3 years later, they still left flowers at the crash site. still celebrated his birthday, still talked about him in present tense sometimes, forgetting he was gone. I couldn't tell them what I knew, couldn't explain that their son might be trapped in some kind of loop, experiencing his death over and over. That would be crueler than letting them believe he was simply gone. So I kept it to myself, documented everything in private files on my personal computer, built a case study that would never be submitted to anyone, and I waited for tonight. The clock changes to 11:34 p.m. Line 7 lights up. I stare at it, watch it ring, count the rings, 1, 2, 3. I've thought about this moment for a year, thought about what I would do if given another chance, whether I'd answer or let it ring, whether there was anything I could do differently that might change the outcome. 4, 5, 6. Wyatt told me not to answer, said answering just feeds the loop. But what if not answering is what keeps Derek trapped? What if he needs someone to answer, needs that connection to the real world to break free? 7. 8. I pick up the phone. FBI Flagstaff office, Agent Mason speaking. Static, wind. The same sounds as before. Then Derek's voice, young. Scared. Desperate. Need help. Route 89, mile marker. But this time, I don't follow the script. I don't ask him to clarify his location or explain the situation. Instead, I say something different. Derek Palmer. The static changes, like something has shifted in the connection. How do you know my name? Because we've had this conversation before, last year. This same night, this same time. Do you remember? I don't. What are you talking about? You called this number 1 year ago. You reported an abandoned white van on Route 89. I talked to you for 47 minutes. You told me you were driving home from Page. You told me about the van, about seeing someone walking in the desert. You told me you were scared. That's impossible. I've never called you before. I've never seen an abandoned van until tonight. I know it feels that way. But Derek, listen to me carefully. This night has happened before, multiple times. You're caught in a loop. Every year on September 18th, you drive this road. You see the van, you call for help, and you crash at mile marker 459. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Silence. Just breathing and static. You think I'm crazy. I think someone's playing a sick joke. How do you know my name? Who are you? My name is Cole Mason. I'm an FBI agent working night dispatch in Flagstaff, and I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to break the loop. There's no loop. I'm just driving home. I saw a weird van. I called to report it, and you're talking nonsense. I'm hanging up. Wait, don't hang up, please. Just listen. What time is it right now? My phone is dead. My car clock says 11:47. But it's not 11:47, it's after midnight. Your car clock is wrong. Your phone died because you're not in normal time anymore. Check your GPS. It's not updating properly, is it? A pause. I could hear him checking. It's frozen. It shows mile marker 457, but I've been driving for several minutes. Why isn't it updating? Because you're in the loop. You're stuck in a pocket of time that keeps repeating. And I'm trying to help you escape it. This is insane. I know, but think about it. Really think. Have you driven this road before? Does any of this feel familiar? I drive this road all the time. I go to Page to visit my friend Mason once or twice a month. I've driven it dozens of times. And has anything like this ever happened before? The abandoned van? The strange feelings? Time acting weird? No. Tonight is the first time I've seen anything unusual. But that doesn't prove anything. He was fighting it. Resisting the idea because accepting it meant accepting that he wasn't in control. that reality wasn't stable, that he might be trapped in something he couldn't understand. I'd done the same thing last year when it first happened. Looked for rational explanations, blamed equipment malfunction, caller confusion, anything except the impossible truth. Derek, I need you to trust me. Last year, I talked to you for 47 minutes. You told me about seeing the van, about seeing someone walking in the desert, about the van following you, about crashing at mile marker 459. And then the call started again from the beginning, like it was resetting. If that's true, why don't I remember? Why doesn't any of this feel familiar? I don't know. Maybe the loop resets your memory. Maybe you only become aware of it toward the end. Maybe you've experienced this hundreds of times and I'm only seeing it once a year because that's when it intersects with my timeline. So, what do you want me to do? If I'm really trapped in this loop, how do I escape? That was the question I didn't have an answer to. I'd spent a year thinking about it, and I still didn't know. I don't know, but last year you drove south and crashed at mile marker 459. So this year I want you to try something different. I want you to drive north, past the van, past mile marker 457. Keep driving north until you reach Marble Canyon. Don't stop, don't turn around, just drive through. North, but Flagstaff is south. I know, but south leads to the crash, so try north. Maybe the loop has boundaries. Maybe driving past a certain point breaks it. This is insane. I should just hang up and drive home. If you do that, you'll crash at mile marker 459 and die. Just like you did 3 years ago. Just like you did last year. The pattern repeats unless we change something. You said I died 3 years ago. How can I be dead and still driving? I don't know. But September 18th, 3 years ago, Derek Palmer died in a single vehicle crash at mile marker 459. I've seen your death certificate. I've read the accident report. You died at 12:15 a.m. That's not possible. No, it's not. But it happened anyway. And now you're caught in some kind of echo or loop or replay of that night. And I'm trying to help you escape it. I could hear him processing this. Hear his breathing getting faster, more panicked. If I died, where am I now? Am I a ghost? Is that what you're saying? I don't know what you are. I don't know the rules of whatever space you're in. All I know is that you can call me, I can hear you, and somewhere you're driving a car on a road that exists in both your version of now and mine. And I want to help you find a way out. By driving north. Yes. What if that doesn't work? What if I just end up more lost? Then we try something else. But doing the same thing again will just lead to the same outcome. He was quiet for a long moment. I waited, giving him time to decide. Okay, he said finally. I'll try it. I'll drive north, but stay on the line with me. If this goes wrong, I want someone to know what happened. I'll stay on the line, I promise. I heard his transmission shift, heard his car accelerate. I'm driving north, I'm passing the van now. It's just sitting there with the engine running and the doors open just like I told you. Keep going, don't stop. I'm past it now. Mile marker 458 coming up, then 459. Mile marker 459. Where he crashed. I held my breath. I'm passing 459. There's glass on the road, like there was an accident here. I know. Keep driving, don't stop. Mile marker 460. 461, 462. The GPS is starting to update. It's tracking my position now. Good, that's good. Keep going. 463, 464. Agent Mason, I think it's working. Whatever that was back there, I think I'm driving out of it. Don't slow down. Keep your speed steady. Keep driving north. 465, 466. The GPS is working normally now. My phone. My phone is turning back on. I have service again. Excellent. You're almost clear. Keep going until you reach Marble Canyon. 467, 468. I can see lights ahead. Is that the town? Should be. Just a few more miles. I listened to him drive. Heard the relief in his voice as the mile markers continued to increment normally. Heard hope creeping in. 469, 470. I can definitely see the town now. Lights, buildings, it's real. I'm going to make it. You're going to make it. 471. I'm slowing down. There's a gas station I'm going to pull in. Good. Pull in, solid ground, witnesses, reality. I heard his car slow, heard the turn signal, heard him pull into the parking lot. I'm here, I'm at the gas station. There are other people here, other cars. Everything looks normal. You did it, Derek. You broke the loop. He laughed. It sounded a little hysterical. I broke the loop. I can't believe that actually worked. I thought I was going to crash again. I thought I was going to die. But you didn't. You made it through. What do I do now? Now you drive home to Flagstaff, south on Route 89. But it should be safe now. You're outside the loop. You're sure? As sure as I can be. But stay on the line with me until you're back in Flagstaff. Just to be safe. Okay. I'm getting back on the highway, heading south now. I listened to him drive. Tracked his progress through his comments about mile markers and landmarks. He passed through the area where the loop had been active and kept going. No vans, no anomalies, just normal highway driving. At 1:45 a.m., he reached Flagstaff city limits. I'm in Flagstaff, he said, his voice filled with relief. I'm home. You're home. You're safe. Agent Mason, thank you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't warned me, if you hadn't told me to drive north. You're welcome. Just... Derek, I need to tell you something. What? Tomorrow, check the date. Check the calendar. And then check your own records. Check your memories. See if they match up with what you think happened. What do you mean? I mean that this night might not have ended the way you remember. That breaking the loop might have changed things, or it might have revealed things. Just check. And if you need to talk to someone about it, you can call me. This number, anytime. Okay, I will. Thank you again. Take care, Derek. You too. The line disconnected. I sat there holding the phone, heart pounding, wondering if it had actually worked. If Derek had actually broken free. If the loop was finally broken. At 2:00 a.m., I pulled up the DMV records and searched for Derek Palmer. The listing was still there. Same photo, same basic information, but the status had changed. Instead of deceased, it now showed active. Date of death, blank. Current address, Flagstaff, Arizona. I searched for the accident report from mile marker 459, September 18th, 3 years ago. It didn't exist. The file wasn't deleted or archived. It had never been created. There had been no accident at mile marker 459 3 years ago. Derek Palmer hadn't died. Or he had, but breaking the loop had somehow erased that timeline and created a new one where he lived. I checked my incident logs from last year. The entry about Derek's call was still there in my private files. But the official system had no record of it. No call on September 18th. Nothing logged on line 7. The loop had been broken, and reality had rewritten itself around that change. At 2:15 a.m., my cell phone rang, unknown number. I answered. Agent Mason. Agent Mason, this is Derek Palmer. We talked earlier. I needed to call you back. Is everything okay? I checked the date, like you said, and I checked my records. And something's wrong, really wrong. What is it? According to my phone, according to my calendar, according to everything. Today is September 18th, but 3 years ago, not this year, 3 years ago, my blood ran cold. What do you mean? I mean I'm not in 2024. I'm in 2021. I checked my social media, my email, everything. All the dates say 2021. It's like the last 3 years didn't happen. Or like you've been living them over and over, and breaking the loop sent you back to the beginning instead of forward to the end. That's not possible. None of this is possible. But it's happening anyway. He was quiet. I could hear him breathing, trying to process. So, what now? Am I stuck in 2021? Do I have to live the next 3 years over again? I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe time will correct itself. Or maybe this is your chance to live those 3 years differently. To not die in a crash on September 18th? Yes. But I didn't crash tonight. I made it home. So doesn't that mean I already changed things? I think so. I think you broke free from the death loop. But the cost was being sent back to the beginning of your personal timeline. You get to live the next 3 years, but you have to live through them. Will I remember? Will I remember this conversation, this night, the warning? I don't know, but just to be safe, write it down. Document everything. And on September 18th, for the next 3 years, don't drive Route 89 at night. Okay, I can do that. I'll avoid that road. I'll stay alive. That's all anyone can do. We talked for a few more minutes. He asked questions I couldn't answer. I gave advice that might or might not matter. Eventually, we said goodbye and disconnected. I sat at the dispatch desk for the rest of my shift, thinking about Derek Palmer living 3 years over again in 2021, wondering if he'd remember this conversation tomorrow, wondering if he'd avoid Route 89, wondering if he'd live past September 18th, or if the loop would catch him again in some new way, but the DMV record showed him alive. The accident report didn't exist. Something had changed. Maybe I'd saved him. Maybe I'd just delayed the inevitable. Maybe I'd made things worse by creating a new kind of trap. I didn't know, and I realized I might never know. At 6 a.m., my shift ended. I went home. I tried to sleep. And for the first time in a year, I slept without dreaming of white vans. Tomorrow is September 19th. The loop is broken. Derek Palmer is alive. Somewhere, somewhen. But I keep my incident log updated. Keep my notes current. Because I have a feeling this isn't over. The white van is still out there. The loop might be broken for Derek, but that doesn't mean it's broken for everyone. Next year, September 18th, will come again. And someone else might get the call. Someone else might find themselves talking to a frightened voice on a dark highway, asking for help that comes 3 years too late. I'll be ready. I'll answer the phone. And maybe, if I'm lucky, I'll save them too. Or maybe I'll just become another part of the pattern. Another element in a loop that continues whether we understand it or not. I guess I'll find out in 364 days. Until then, I sit at my desk and watch Line 7, waiting for a call that may or may not come. From someone who may or may not exist. On a road that may or may not be real. In a time that may or may not be now. The phone stays silent.